Hello, good morning. I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds to take in this morning. How beautiful is this Kaffe Facet quilt we've got on today? It's absolutely huge. Producer Hayley and I and Joe have been laying on it this morning on our studio floor to take pictures, so you're going to get a real sense of the scale of that quilt today. But we've got a fantastic show lined up for you this morning. I'm joined by Joy Edgington and also Joe Carter, so we've got lovely projects. We're looking at wadding, we're looking at little rucksacks to take back to school. In fact, let's have a look at the menu of what's coming up on today's show. So, at 8 o'clock, I'm joined by Joy in this hour, and we're looking at hugs, hearts and kisses. So we're doing the different blocks, we've got the different formations there, how to put those together. We're going to be looking at those with Joy. Then at 9 o'clock is Kaffe Stripes Galore quilt. So that gorgeous quilt you can see behind me, Joe's going to be showing you how to put that together, and that comes in one big kit. So a really beautiful selection of fabrics. At 10 o'clock, Joy's World of Wadding. I'm in for a lesson there on wadding and what we do with different types of batting, different colours, different sort of material versions. At 11 o'clock is back to school. So we've got a lovely little rucksack for the children to take back in September and lots of different fabric bundle options to show you for that today. Now, also, we love you to get in touch. So Sewing Quarter is as much about you as it is about us. It's no use us just being here talking without hearing what you're up to. So please do get in touch either via email. So you can email us studio@sewingquarter.com. And if you want to send us a picture, that's the way to do it. We had loads of you sending in photos yesterday. Lots of people sharing their Saturday makes with us. Show us your Sunday makes as well. What are you up to today? What are you making? Are you quilting? Are you out in the garden? What are you up to? Also, you can get in touch via the website. So if you go to sewingquarter.com and if you head to the watch icon at the top of the page, you just click on that one there. And if you just scroll beneath the live feed of today's show, you can see that message the studio bubble there. So producer Hayley upstairs, good morning. You can drop us a message. You can ask any questions you might have for Joy or Joe. And you can, that's an easy, but nice, simple way to get in touch if you've got a short message for us. Then underneath that is all of the products that are going to be on today's show. So those are yesterday's products there at the moment, but that will be updated with everything we've got coming up this morning. So you can add things to your basket and check them out that way. Lovely. So let's get started with this morning's hour. In this hour, as I said, I'm joined by Joy, and joined by Joy on a joyful Sunday morning, we've got 3 fabric bundle options for you. So I'm going to start by showing you those. These are all 2.5 metre bundles, so you get 5 half-metre cuts. Joy's going to be working with some of these, so we just wanted to give you the option to add these to your stash if you want to, or if perhaps you have a specific project in mind. So we'll start with Joy's bundle, which is the one that we're working with first of all. So this is reds and some beautiful teal colours here. We've got spot-ons, we've got cross-hatches and solids. So I'll start first of all with this linear look fabric that's on a really bright Christmassy red. I'm saying the Christmas word again. It's because we had Christmas on Friday. Then we've got a spot-on red. We've got a nice, strong teal colour there. These sort of really rich uniform solids from Macauer. Then you've got a spot-on aqua. And you've got optical white. So you get 0.5 metre of each of those, 2.5 metres in total, FFGC 70. Now, these bundles are ones that we put together for you where you've got really lovely colours that are working and coordinating beautifully. Lots of complementary colours there with your aquas and your reds. Now, the next option is another 2.5 metre bundle. This one is sort of pastel-y pinks and also some more aquas, but slightly more green, a green aqua rather than leaning more towards a blue. So I'll start with this dusty pink, which is a linear texture one. So again, this is a cotton. It's got a nice sheen to it. You can just see those lovely lines running through that fabric there. Then you've got a lovely, again, a sort of softer dusty pink, but with a spot on. This one's called Cheeky Pink. Then you've got a solid vintage blue. You've got a candy spot on, which is obviously a brighter, bolder pink. And on the bottom, you've got spearmint, which is another solid from Macauer. So I think that's a different... Is that one also called Joy's Bundle? No, that must be a different colour one. Joy's Bundle of Hearts, that selection there. CAGC 33, because we're looking at hearts blocks this morning. Hearts, hugs and kisses. And then our last one is an aqua and... sorry, not an aqua, it's a lilac and purpley bundle. So this one is Joy's Bundle of Hugs. So it's all very lovely this morning. We've got lilacs. You've also got some softer, sort of greyish lilacs here as well. So again, 2.5 metres, 0.5 metre of each of these 5 fabrics. You've got your linear look fabric there on the top, which is heron grey. Then you've got a spot on lilac, a really lovely one. Then you've got mercury there, which is obviously a sort of a steely grey. Then spot on mauve, that's a dusty purple actually, sort of a crushed purple. And then you've got your mauve mist, EOGC 44, that's the Hugs bundle, so that's your purpley one. That's producer Hayley's favourite, the purple one this morning, EOGC 44. And all of those are $20.95, so 2.5 metres of fabric for $20.95, just in different colourways, whether you like your reds and teals, your lilacs or your softer pinks and aquas. So let's go over and meet Joy and get started. We've got a lovely lesson on these different blocks this morning. So this is my first show with Joy.
Hello, good morning. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Are you?
Good, really good. So Joy, tell me, obviously we've not done a show together before.
We haven't.
Tell me a bit about what you do.
Too long coming.
It has been too long. I know even Joy opened the door to me this morning. She was here before me at 6 o'clock. Hello, finally meet you in person. But yeah, tell me a bit about what you do.
Okay, I teach patchwork and quilting lessons in Birmingham area, and I've been quilting for a long time.
So quilting's your thing. If you were going to, you know, if you were going to specialise in any area of sewing.
Yeah, patchwork and quilting. That's where I go. I do embroidery, bits of cross stitch, crocheting, and knitting, and all the other things as well. But
this is your speciality.
This is my home. This is my home. So yeah.
Did you go to Festival of Quilts?
I did. I worked all 4 days. It was very tiring, but I met some lovely, lovely ladies. Lots of people came up to say hello and whatever. So that's really good.
Just a nice way to connect, isn't it, with people that have all got that shared passion for. Yeah. And it's such a huge community. So many of you loving it. Obviously, we've always got quilts hanging up in the studio, but there's always new things to learn, different techniques to do.
Absolutely.
And we're doing some of those today.
Yes.
No, never stop learning. So we're looking at Hearts, Hugs and Kisses.
Hearts, Hugs and Kisses for the bank holiday weekend.
That sounds very happy, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
It's nice and cheerful. So which one would you like to start with?
We're going to start with the basis of the Hugs and the Kisses blocks.
Okay.
Because if we look at this one, we've got 2 kisses going on there, but each kiss is made up of 4 sections. So we're going to start off with how we make the section. And
also, you were saying this morning that what's great about these is that it's the same block, it's just the arrangement and the layout to create the hug, which is, if you don't know what the hug one is, let me just show you here.
Yeah.
Because it's like noughts and crosses.
Yeah, noughts and crosses, hugs and kisses.
But you can just see this is your hug and this is your kiss. But it's the same block, just, you know, laid out in a different formation.
Yeah.
So how do we start this one then?
OK, so we're going to start off nice and straightforward. All we need is some squares of fabric. So we're going to need our big square, which is going to be our centrepiece, and then smaller squares, which are going to use on the sides. We're going to do like a snowball technique.
What's that then, if someone wasn't sure what a snowball
The snowball technique is where we use... Oh, I coughed this morning. We got
some water.
We use a square that we sew on and cut away so that we can fold it back to nip the corners off.
Oh, okay.
And on a typical snowball, we do it on all 4 corners, but for this block, we're just doing it on 2.
So the 2 opposite corners.
2 opposite corners.
Those diagonal ones.
So first thing we need to do is we need to draw a diagonal line across our square. And if you're worried about getting it exactly into the corners, if you use the 45-degree angle line on your ruler, you can line that up down the side here.
Oh, no one's ever shown me that.
Ah, there you go.
We always use this to mark the 45 rather than actually using it to line up.
Ah, there you go, you see. You're going to learn a lot today, aren't you?
I've already been told I'm going to get a practice lesson later on, so that's to look forward to.
Yes, I hope. Yes, OK. So I've got it lined up so it's all nice and square. And then when you're drawing on fabric, if you try and draw a big long line, it tends to ripple it and pull it out of shape. So I always just start in the middle and just stroke it out like that, and then it doesn't disturb the fabric at all.
OK, so smaller brush strokes as opposed to a big, long old line.
So, and we can do the same again on this one. Because obviously we're going to use this line as our sewing guide now. Now, some techniques you sew either side of the line, but on this one you actually sew on the line.
Well, that's nice and easy, so you can follow that as a guide.
You can just follow it line. So as long as you've got it drawn nice and straight, you've got no problems. Now, the next thing is you need to think about which way you put this round, because if you put it this way and you try and sew, you're going to run onto your main block. So the trick is when you put it on, the ends of the line must reach the outsides of your square.
So you're making that triangle in the top corner as opposed to it cutting across.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, people say, oh, yeah, that's really good, but when you cut that away, you've got all that wasted fabric. But we're not going to waste fabric, because what we're going to do is we're going to draw another line 1/2 inch away from our original line. So I'm lining up the 1/2 inch line on the line that I drew. I can still check against here that it's nice and square, and then I'm going to do another line there. So I've got 2 lines on here, and again, if you've got it the wrong way round, this line won't reach the edge of the square.
So you want the 2 lines are going to be more towards the corners of your fabric than the centre.
Yeah, and as long as 2 lines reach the edge of your square, you know you've got it in the right place. And then we're going to stitch on both of those lines.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go over here. Oops, lost them.
This is what I like, when you've got nice, easy lines to follow. You haven't got to guess anything. You've already got those marked on there. You can just sew.
Yeah, it's really good, particularly for people who, you know, are at the sort of beginning of their quilting journey. All the clues that you can get. Now, if you've got a guide on the edge of your foot like we have on this one, it can sometimes get caught at the beginning, so be prepared for that. Just do a couple of stitches and then just do as I've done, lift your foot up and just resettle it down so that you can see where you're going.
Now, Joy, I can't not comment on how snazzy your nails are. They are so cool. Aren't they really funky nail design you've got going on there?
Well, yeah, I have to do it. Now,
I can just see them on that close-up. They look great. I love them.
Well, when your hands are this close to the camera, you know, you've got to do something, haven't you? You
didn't do those yourself, did you?
No.
I
have a lovely lady called Laura who does them for me. But we had a bit of an issue for this show because I'm on 3 days running, which I don't normally do.
No.
So we've had to pick 3 tops and nails that will go with all 3 tops. Well, as best we could.
So organised.
So yeah, so it was a little bit of a mission to decide this time.
Do you know what? I find that one of the hard ones. It's such a hard decision when you sit down because it feels like, oh, I'm going to have this on for a few weeks, so I need to choose a colour. Choose wisely.
Yeah, I need to choose something I'm going to use. So I've stitched on both of those. Now, I always like to cut all my ends away as soon as I take them off the machine, because then there's no danger of them getting sewn into the next lot of seams that I'm going to do.
Okay.
So we've got it done, and you can see now that when that's cut away and pulled out, that's going to come up to there. So again, back to here. So this time I'm going to line up the 1/4 inch marking on my sewn line there, so that I can cut away in the centre. So there we go. So then there's one piece done, which you're going to press in a minute.
Yes.
And then the piece that's cut away is also useful because that's now formed a 1/2 square triangle piece. Now, you can just pop these in your stash and wait till you've got a lot of them and make a quick quilt out of them. But today, we're going to use them as the basis for our heart block.
So actually, you can incorporate that into if you're combining heart tugs and kisses,
you can do
you're doing two jobs at once.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll just do the other side.
So that's the same technique again.
Exactly the same technique. I've just got the one line drawn on there at the moment.
So let me see if I can remember. We do a line across to divide the square.
Yep.
And then you do a line 1/2 inch away towards the corner, closer towards the corner.
That's right.
Then you're going to sew on both of those.
Yep.
And rotary cut between them.
Absolutely.
Got it.
So, yeah, not too much to have to worry about. With this
I like that there's no waste, so we're making the most of it. You know, if you've got a fabric and you want to, especially if you've got a fabric that you're going to mix and match like that,
definitely.
It works if you want to create that heart block too.
I don't let much waste go on in my sewing rooms. There's always something that you can do.
There's always something you can use it for.
Yeah.
So So the bundle that Joy's working with at the moment is the Kisses bundle. So we've got 3 different ones this morning, 3 different colourways. This one's the one with your sort of teals and blues, but it also uses the reds you can see in this heart block here, which we're going to get to. But if you do like that colour option, it's 2.5 metres of fabric, FFGC 70. We've got that one here for you today.
So there we go. There's all our pieces, okay? Now, when we're putting this together, what we need to think about is these seams, because when we come to nest them together, if the seams go in opposite directions, that's much better to get your seam. So when we're pressing these, we're going to press half of them with the triangles going out, so that the seam goes under the triangles, and the other half we'll press with the seams coming in. And
then you can nestle them in against each other.
Absolutely.
Let's grab this ironing mat there, which is here.
It should be there somewhere.
It is buried somewhere under our desk.
Make a bit of room for it.
Let's just move it off that cutting mat as well. Yeah. OK, so here comes my lesson.
So I'll do the first one to show you.
Because there is a difference between ironing and pressing.
Absolutely.
And lots of people, you know, say, oh, we're going to iron it, but actually they mean press. And if you don't know what the difference is...
then you're stuck.
Yeah, let's learn.
When you're ironing, you tend to do this. So you're ironing in like a curved motion. But we don't want to do that because that can distress the fabric and it can distort it out of shape. And if you press it out of shape, then you've got to wash it and get it back in again. So we're going to start with the darkest one on the top. Okay. And then I'm just going to press. So pressing is straight forward and backwards or left and right. So we straight lines.
Okay.
So there's no distortion there. Then if you just peel back that top there, pop your iron in and let your iron just knock it over, so it knocks that seam over really nice and crisply.
Why did you say I start with the darker fabric on the top?
Because having the darker fabric on the top means that seam has now gone under the darkest fabric.
Oh, OK.
If you do it the other way around, you can get some shadowing coming through.
So you want to stop it from being underneath the lighter one?
Absolutely. And it's exactly the same principle when we get to this shape. I always set the seam first by doing a little line of pressing. That helps to set the thread into the fabric, and it's what gives us that nice crisp edge. Then we can go in here and knock it back. And
is this on the hottest setting, the iron you
use it on the setting that's appropriate to the fabrics you're using. So we're using 100% cotton, so it'll be on a cotton setting.
OK.
Yeah. Whether people always have a big debate, do you use steam or don't you use steam? I always use steam, but
a little bit of moisture, you don't mind that?
No, because I find it can dry the fabric too much, so I like to have a bit of steam on mine. Other quilters will say, no, never use steam, so people have to make their own mind up.
So it's another choice, another one of those
One of those choices, yeah. So there's a side for you to have a go at, and
which we'll do with the dark on top.
Now, you've immediately opened that out.
We do the seam first of all?
Seam first, yes.
Okay. So we're only going forward and back?
Just forward and back, that's it, just to set it in.
Just like that.
Now, if you have the seam on the left-hand side...
So it'd be this way?
Yeah, then you can just pick this up, because you're right-handed.
Yes.
If you're left-handed, you do it the other way.
Then you can open that straight out.
And then that will go, so just let it go up to the seam and just knock it over. What it does, it stops you getting any little folds where your seam is.
So rather than having anything bumpy, it's going to give it that nice, smooth...
Yeah. That's it, perfect. See, you can do it.
And then, this one, the darker one, do we want this, again, you want the same with the dark on top?
Dark on top, seam on the left-hand side, yeah.
OK. So we just forwards and back, or side to side.
That's it.
Like that.
And then don't pull it too far back.
OK.
Because if you pull it too far back, you run the risk of that flapping underneath.
Yes.
And getting caught. So just literally halfway up and let the nose of the iron go in and push it.
So you're just peeling back to here
and then let the iron do the job. That's it. And then there's no danger of that seam getting caught back under. Perfect.
Ah, look at this.
Yeah, you'll be able to iron your own T-shirts now.
Iron things now. We'll press them. I'll be able to press them. OK, so with these, I'm spying dog ears. What happens with these? Do we square these off? Is that the next step? Yeah,
we can just chop these dog ears off. It always sounds very vicious, doesn't it? So... yeah,
that sounds a bit mean, especially when we're doing hearts and hugs and kisses. Then we go, just chop the dog ears off.
Yeah. OK. People will hold these up here and do all sorts of things to cut them off. I like to have it flat on my hand so that when I put the scissors underneath, they're flat on my hand, so they're stable. So then when they're nice and stable, you can get in and just snip that off, and there's no danger of the scissors slipping out of the way.
Okay. So just square those off, and then you can...
Yep.
And like you said, you could put these in your stash if you wanted to, and just collect them up for, you know, for another quilting project.
Oh yeah, they make lovely, lovely quilts because you can do so much with them. So, there's our basic shape for our kisses.
Yes.
And these are our spare pieces. So we'll pop these
to the side,
out of the way. Okay.
So also there's a lilac bundle, which is the hugs one you can see on your screen at the moment. It's got dusty purples in it. You've got lilacs and mauves. Again, 2.5 metres of fabric for $20.95. But that sort of family of purples there have been put together really beautifully. EOGC 44 is the item number for that.
But you don't have to make hugs with them. You could make the hearts or the kisses.
No, you can do anything. You can combine.
Just because we've called them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I actually quite like them combined with the hearts and hugs and kisses as one.
Yeah.
It looks nice. It's a bit of variation rather than just having it all the same.
That's right. That's right.
Breaks it up a bit.
So I've got a couple more here I made earlier.
Yes.
Of course. So we've got 4 here, and all we need to do, we've got 5 now.
An extra
one, yeah. So all we need to do is put those together, and we've got our kiss. But if we turn them around like this, then we've got our hugs.
So this is really lovely as well for a beginner to be able to have two blocks within a quilt that are actually the same technique.
Yeah,
so you
just
haven't
one
got to
technique,
master 2 different things.
No.
Once you've got that corner, drawing, cutting, sewing, once you've got that, you just replicate it until you've got them and create hugs and kisses.
Yeah. And then hopefully we've got our pressing right. Now if we look here, that's because I've swapped that one in. Let's bring that one out. You can see here that these 2 are going out and these 2 are going in. So if we
the reverses actually look very different with those seams pressed different ways, don't they?
They do, because that suddenly looks very thin and that looks very fat. But they are the same. It's just literally the way that the seams have been pressed. But the beauty now is that seam's going that way and that one's going that way, so we can really get them nested together. Yeah. And obviously the same is true if we turn them around to make our hugs.
So you don't put those... Oh, no, they are side by side, aren't they? You've obviously just got them opposite each other. Yeah. So what do you want to... Are we going to make a kiss or a hug? What should we
make a hug? We've got kisses.
Okay,
let's make a hug. We could do with a hug.
Yeah, why not?
Always good to have a hug. So if I just turn these back over.
Okay.
So lay it out at the side of you. Very easy to get things a bit muddled up, you know, sew the wrong pieces together. But if you get into the habit of always laying it out on the left-hand side of your machine, and then you take the right-hand piece and fold it on the top.
Okay.
And then take it to your machine. There's no question of it turning around or anything. Muddled up. What you can do then is we can pop a pin in here to make sure that seam doesn't move. Okay. Now I like to use long fine pins, and I found me some today.
You got the right ones.
Yeah, these will do nicely.
What's your preference for pins? Why do you like the long fine ones?
I like the long fine ones because they don't put any extra bulk in, because I'm going to sew over it.
Okay.
So I don't want any extra bulk there. But also, if you've got a big fat pin and you're sewing over it and you hit it, there's a good chance you're going to either bend the pin or break your needle. If you've got a very fine one, as long as you go slowly over it, if it does hit it, it will slide off because there's nothing really for it to catch on.
It's a bit more discreet. It's not going to be so troublesome.
That's right. So I'm just going to nest these. And when we say about nesting, it just means that there's like a little step where we've pressed that seam under, and obviously this one's got a step because it's pressed the other way. So we want to make sure that they nest right up really, really close to each other. Then we get the nice crisp joins.
They sort of fit very flushly together when you've pressed the seams to 2
alternative ways. Yeah, you can actually feel them sort of snap into place against each other. And again, if you've not pressed it correctly and you've got...
Just see that one there. So it's just here. But if you haven't pressed it the right way, you wouldn't get...
You end up with... This one's actually got like a slight little fold there. So if you try and line that up on the fold, it won't work. So I'm just making sure I'm just pulling
Producer
that out.
Hayley's saying, and actually it's very true, it's kind of like laminate flooring, how it clicks in, you know, it has those channels and it has to slot into place.
You just suddenly feel it go into place. And then when you're pinning, if you pin on the line, exactly on the line of stitching on one side, if you've got it right, it'll be exactly on the line of stitching on the other side.
If you've got it wrong, then it's going to...
if it's not on the line of stitching, then you know you've got something not quite right. Unpin it and do it again. Also, when you're pinning, there's no point pinning here because this piece isn't stabilised. It can still shift when it's being sewn. So what you need to do is make sure you've got it pinned right up within that 1/4 inch.
So it's going to stop it from shifting. It serves its purpose of keeping the fabric secure and
absolutely
in place.
Now, if you've got a guide on the side of your foot like this one, you need to make sure that the tip of the pin doesn't extend beyond the fabric because it'll get caught up on the guide. Some machines have got 1/4 inch feet without the guide and some have got it with. So it just depends what you've got on your machine.
So 1/4 inch with everything,
as
it always tends to be.
So I'm just going to leave that one in there because I'm going to chain piece.
Okay.
So again, I'm just going to fold this one on the top. And we'll get a little pin in.
And again, if you're a beginner and you're not sure, how would you describe chain piecing? Or sometimes you say like tailgate, isn't it? You sort of butt them up against. They're really on the tail of the one in front. Yeah,
so all you need, and people think they've got to sew a big long string in between, so you don't. You just literally finish this one off on the edge, and then if you bring this one, if you have your needle down, that stops anything moving. Then lift up your presser foot, butt this up to your needle, and then you can carry on sewing. And you only need like a stitch or 2 stitches in between, and the machine will automatically put those there for you. You don't have to sew the chain in the middle.
So it's not about, sometimes people think you've got to do a long string between them.
Yeah, I've done a long one on here to show you. So this is what happens, they're sort of strung together with this chain, but usually you perhaps only have like literally 1 or 2 stitches. That's all you need.
So it doesn't matter that you don't have a back stitch or anything at the edge of those? No, that's fine.
No.
And really that's about speed, isn't it? The whole point of...
It's partly about speed, but also it's about keeping your pieces, all together.
So you know that the right ones are all going to be in that chain or from that same block or that same section.
Like this heart one, we've got 16 squares. So we can do that and we can sew that whole square so it's all chained together in one piece, so then it can't get muddled up.
So you know which ones are going where?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about organisation and speed, really.
Yeah. So now we've got these. We need to press these. Now, normally I wouldn't cut them apart at home. I would just carry on and press them all chained up together, but I'm making it easy for you.
OK. Thanks, Joy.
I thought you'd like that. So what I want you to know, I want to press these, but I want you to press one seam one way and one seam the other way.
OK. So this one, you mean on each side? Or all of these going the same way?
No, we're just pressing this seam that we've just sewn.
OK.
So press that one first. So keep that one.
So it goes on the left?
Yeah.
And then we you just press the seam?
Just press the seam, that's it. Exactly the same. And then again, you can just pull up the corner or the edge there, halfway, and let the iron go in. That's it. And then
you just use this to peel it back.
That's it. Okay. Nice. So if we leave that one there, we know that the seam's going that way. So this one, the seam's got to go the other way.
Yeah. So can we turn it? Do we turn it around?
Yeah, we can just turn it over.
Okay.
And then the seam will
come
under.
It's going to be the opposite way.
It will come under the other side.
So we just do the seam, and then we just
peel it back
and to about here, and then you just use the iron.
Just let the iron knock it over. Yeah.
That's it. Well, we've had an email in from Wendy. Morning, Wendy. She said she gets so many tips from Joy, so thank you.
Oh, bless her, bless her. That's good.
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So now, just to show what's happened here, you can see this seam's going this way and this one's going this way.
In fact, that's not that flat, is it? Should that have been a bit flatter?
That'd be okay. That'll be fine. This is why I would use steam, because it always goes a lot flatter with steam. So now to join these, I'm going to pin the centre one first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is again doing the nestling with the laminate floor.
The laminate floor.
This is our laminate floor technique.
Why not? We can rename it. We can call it what we like. Then I'm going to go and pin this join here. Now, sometimes, particularly when you're starting off, you might find that it doesn't quite lay flat and meet exactly, but by joining and pinning these seams, if there's any excess in any part of it, we can ease it to fit as we go. Now that's lying fairly flat, but if, for instance, let's just make it for instance, if I'd pinned it and I'd got something like this going on, then as we sew it, we can just ease it out flat.
But to get the precision in terms of the actual
you need to pin your joints
with the cross or with the hug. If you want that to have a really nice sharp point, you need to check those fabrics are lining up when you're pinning.
Lining up as best as you can and get them pinned in, and then we can just sew this seam down.
And what sorts of things would you incorporate these blocks into other than quilts?
You could do anything with them, really. You could make a table runner. I mean, the heart one I've done I thought might be nice as a little table centre.
This is a nice big heart.
It is. You could put them on... I mean, that would be nice hanging up at a wedding or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, actually you could frame it, couldn't you?
Yeah. And you could always embroider or applique the bride and groom's name on them.
Or initials, or the date, or actually for a new baby, if you wanted to frame something with a name and a...
I mean, hugs and kisses are very good blocks for baby quilts. Yeah, it's just a typical sort of thing, isn't it? But if you do a long runner, you could put it on the dressing table at home or something like that as well.
Little placemats. So the one on your screen is the bundle of kisses, which is the red and aqua that Joy's working with. So this is the one that you can see with that spot on aqua and the teal, and also the reds that are in this heart. You can see it on the back there too. Actually, placemats might be quite nice.
Yeah, placemats, anything, Or a panel on the side of a bag.
Yes. Valentine's.
Yeah, Valentine's.
Make a nice little Valentine's present for that.
OK, there you go.
Here we go.
So it's ready for you to press.
Again. Left. That's it. And this time we just... Well, it's only going to be one way, isn't it?
Just one way, just open it out,
So, do you have to be careful with the seam here? Obviously, you want to keep that running.
Yeah, that you don't ruckle it over,
OK. And then we're just going to do the same again.
Yeah.
Would you press the whole thing?
Yeah, okay, you should give it a quick press over,
OK, lovely. Ah, like this.
Perfect.
OK.
So now we've got our hug, and if you join them the other way around...
You get the kiss, which is this one here.
Yeah.
So, should we just talk about the tools that we use to do this?
Yeah, good idea.
So, in terms of if you haven't done this before, the sorts of things that you would use, obviously we used, first of all, the first thing was the pen, wasn't it, to mark the ruler?
Yeah, we've used the pen here, which is a sew line pen. You can get different coloured chalks. It's a chalk pencil, which means it doesn't damage the fabric in any way.
OK.
And it will iron out, wash out.
It's fairly traditional, actually, chalk as a marking implement, isn't it? You know, like tailor's chalk, you quite naturally think of. But this is a pink one, so it comes in different colours, obviously, depending on the fabric you're marking.
Yes, yeah. So we've got that. And because it's a nice fine chalk as well, you get a nice fine line, which is easy to follow.
So that's just a mechanical pencil you can, like you would have in any sort of regular stationery, really. But you can just see there that pink nib. And that comes with refills as well. How many refills do we get? Here we go. Oh, you can just see that little box there. Yep. So you've got quite a few refills in there. Let's have a look. Should we see how many are in there? We've probably used a few of these.
We probably have.
I think Jo used this pen yesterday too. But you've obviously got your lead in there. And you say this brushes away. if you want.
Yeah. Anything with chalk, because chalk just sort of sits on the top,
Reminds me
really.
of the playground.
Yeah.
Do the hopscotch. That's what chalk reminds me of.
We're going to do hopscotch quilt
Yeah,
next, aren't we?
hopscotch
That's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah, so... I don't know. There's about six
or
six left in there.
This is about precision, really, as opposed to if you had that big old, like I said, the playground chalk. You're not going to get any sort of line that's usable with a ruler. But this was the one that you used to mark those lines.
That's right.
For the first part of the block.
So so that's that. Then obviously we did the sewing, and then we had to cut apart. Now. This is probably my favourite rotary cutter. I like this one because it's got a lot of safety features on it. The key thing is that this blade is very, very sharp, and we want to keep it sharp to cut our fabrics with, but we don't want to cut ourselves or
coming into contact
small
with
children
that blade.
or animals or whatever.
Yeah.
My cat always wants to try and chase the blade when I'm cutting, so it's a nightmare.
Probably because of the light, it's to where it sort of catches.
Yeah, he just thinks it's good fun. So with this one, the blade is safely away, and you have to squeeze it to release that blade.
So it's only exposed when you're actually engaging that handle.
So if by any chance I drop that blade would automatically go away. And it also means that I can't put it down and leave the blade accidentally out.
Very true. You haven't got to consciously put the cover back on, or it does it itself.
Absolutely. Then you've got this little red button here, and if you press that through, then that locks the whole thing down. So if you're carrying it in a bag to class or you're keeping it in a drawer, again, there's no danger of you accidentally...
Or something leaning on it and exposing the blade.
Yeah, bringing it out. And it's a 45mm blade, so it's a standard size blade. And
and a nice sharp blade as well in terms of. Could you do a couple of layers with that if you wanted to cut through multiple layers?
You can do up to 8 layers with this. Let me just see if I can find a piece of.
It is really good that isn't engaged, because so often, even on the show when we have different rotary cutters, and some of them have the cover that you pop on, sometimes without thinking, a designer might just pop it there without...
So easy
you have to consciously think about putting the case over it, but with that, it just pops and covers it.
So I've got a piece of fabric here, so that's 2 layers, that's 4 layers, and that's 8 layers. And
Joy's going to go for it. She's going to go straight for 8 layers.
I am, straight for 8 layers, so we've popped this on. And there you go, straight through.
Easy peasy.
Now, for patchwork, I wouldn't generally go through 8 layers because you do get a little bit of shifting, and because we want the real precision, I would only normally go through 4 layers at a time.
Okay.
I find more than that, you start to lose some of the precision.
You just lose that
just that little bit. Just that little bit. But it will go through 8 layers. It will also go through things like suede and leather and upholstery fabric and so on.
Lovely. So if you've never used a rotary cutter before as well, because lots of people really still lean towards their scissors, don't they? If you're doing lots of cutting, particularly straight lines and strips and things, it does make life so much easier. It's
absolutely.
It's a good thing to have in your toolkit.
Yeah, but only ever use it with a ruler. I've got 3 different rulers here, just because I'm greedy. I like to have everything to hand. This is very often what people will start off with. It's 6.5, this one by 24.5. Really useful to start off with to cut your strips from your big pieces of fabric. Then, once I've cut my strips down, my favourite is the squares. I find them much more manoeuvrable and easy to use.
It's not quite so big, but all of these have the 45-degree mark on it, which is what we were using with those half-square triangles this morning. And what I like about these is that the markings are in 2 cut in the black and white. Yeah. So depending on what fabric...
Yeah, you can see them nice and easily.
If you've got a darker or a lighter one.
Yeah.
This is the 6.5. So the 8.5 is actually out of stock at the moment. We are going to try and get some more of those in. But the Creative Grids rulers, well, we had some of these on yesterday with Lucy. And what's lovely about all of the Creative Grids rulers is they have that unique... their grip system that they use on the back. I don't know what the technology... It's unique to them, and obviously it's sort of patented technology, but it doesn't... If you apply pressure to this once you've put it on the fabric, it doesn't shift anywhere. It really is... It does grip. So when you're cutting, as from a safety point of view, but also from just... you don't want to have to keep worrying about if that's moving everywhere. The grip on the back of that... Really, and they've got those little dots. I don't know if you can see this sort of a change in texture, but they've got little dots across the back and also all around the edges. Oh, yeah, that's a great shot. You can see everything there. But you've got the black in the 1/2 inches, haven't you? And the white is your
quarter inches.
Quarter inches.
Yeah.
So that's the 6.5 inch. So once you would say sort of a step up from once if you've just got one ruler. If you want to add another one,
absolutely,
your square is
6.5 inch, and then there could be lots of different size squares. Any of my students will tell you I've got a 6.5 inch one on my table, and I use it all the time for checking seam allowances and checking cutting and stuff like that. So very, very useful. The other thing that I really like is this rotating mat. And again, I think I have this on every show that I come on.
I love how designers have their thing, like their something that you just use. But that isn't, like you said, this is on your desk and you actually use it. This isn't something we've said to Joy, please can you use that?
Day in and day out.
It's there.
Day in and day out.
And you can tell in how you naturally just use it and pick it up.
Yeah, that's right. So, and this one, you need to have a self-healing mat if you're going to do rotary cutting. So you've got to have the mat, the cutter and a ruler to do it safely. But this is a rotating mat, so you can turn it a bit like a lazy Susan.
Lazy Susan, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, Natasha always imagines it
full
of sandwiches and things.
Just what are we going to pass today? Should we have cake? Should we have scones? Whatever we like, spin it around.
We could do that. The beauty of this, of course, is that if I wanted to trim this down, so if I wanted to make this into a 3-inch square, for instance, I can line it up on here. Sorry, get my cutter back. And then I can trim this side. Now, normally you'd have to take this off and move it around, but all I need to do is turn this round. I haven't disturbed anything. And then I can do this cut, and then I can turn it round again, turn my ruler round onto that square corner that I've just cut again, and then turn it round to do the final cut.
Perfect square.
Yep.
Also, from a point of view of not just the time saving, but from a comfort point of view, rather than having to, sometimes you find yourself cutting awkward angles or trying to sort of save yourself from having to turn things. Yeah,
and that's quite dangerous. And if you're trying to cut back on yourself like this, it's not very safe. So these are my favourites.
We're quite limited on stock on that rotating cutting mat. Really, really popular. YWGQ48. Once you pop that on your desk, you probably find yourself using it for lots of different things.
Oh, absolutely. Use it all the time. Squaring things off, cutting things down. It's just so much more manoeuvrable.
Oh, we've also got a message from Lorraine. Morning, Lorraine. Hi, I've got various cutters, but since I bought the cutter you're using, I don't use my others. So that's this one here. Absolutely.
People don't. They won't go backwards.
Thanks, Lorraine. I'm glad you're in the club. You're in the cutter club.
In the cutter club. That's quite.
That's a good club to be in.
A nifty little saying, the cutter club.
I'm just going to quickly talk to you about this iron that we've been using as well. So if you've been watching me have a nice pressing lesson,
I'll tidy up while you do that.
Lovely, doing the chores. So this Art Prim is a mini iron that you can take on the go with you. So it's great for travelling. Also great if you're, like Joy was mentioning, with classes and workshops and taking an iron on the go. So there's some really lovely features on this. First of all, it's really unique actually to have a steam mini iron. So there's a little stopper just on the top here. And you can just, I won't lift it up because the iron's on, but you can pop your water in there so you can steam things, which is lovely. Like Joy was saying, she uses the steam for her quilting and for all of her projects. Also, you've got the dial here with all of your different heat temperatures. It's a really comfortable grip on the top there. If you can just see, it sort of fits really comfortably in your hand. And the lovely thing about this, the cord. It's so I think this is a 2-metre cord. Let me grab the packet to show you. Oh, I don't know if we've got the packet here, but it comes in a little travel bag, but it's a 2-metre cord, so if you want to stretch this right across, I always say if you're ironing in front of the TV and you've got, you need to stretch it to be where you want to be, then you've got that cord there, rather than needing an extension cable at all. And also, it's a really lightweight iron. It's lovely. Some of our customers say they like this if perhaps you're starting to struggle with arthritis or picking up a big heavy iron. Even for general ironing, this will do the trick. And it's just nice and light and easy to use. But what do you like about this little mini iron?
I was just going to say the grip on it's really good, because on a normal iron you've got to sort of grip it through the handle. This one, your hand's much flatter. But also the size of it, because if you're doing small pieces and you're using your big iron, I've lost count of how many times I've steamed my fingers. Whereas with this, there's much less chance of that happening.
It just allows you to get right into those sort of smaller sections. You can't, if you can see from a perspective point of view, quite. I don't know if it looks on screen like a big camera. It's it's the size of my hand. It's not even the size of my hand. It is a mini iron, and like I say, it's great for taking for travelling. It comes with a little bag, so you can take that on the go. And for these little smaller sections where you are pressing those seams and getting into those small little nooks and crannies, and also for toy making, great for those smaller, sort of more fiddly bits. So that's the Prim Mini Iron XAPH07. This was quite new on Sewing Quarter a few weeks ago, and it's been so popular. Lots of people adding it to their kits.
Yes.
We have another message from Lorraine. Morning, Lorraine. So not only with the cutting, the rotary cutter, I have the rotating mat. Best Buy, so much better and more accurate in my cutting, as you're not disturbing the fabric.
Brilliant.
So it's exactly that. Once it's in place, you're not having to move. The cutter moves. I want afternoon tea on a rotating cutting mat.
I'm sure we can arrange that.
We should have 2 years of cake on the rotating cutting mat. We've got a message from Judy, so we've got a question actually. So, why do you not press seams open?
Okay, occasionally we do to reduce the bulk, but in general terms, if I just open this up, if we open these out, first of all, we haven't got that little step to join up and get our accurate seams, but also it can put, I don't know if you can see this, but the seam can pull apart.
Okay.
Probably can't, because it's probably too. So by doing it to one side like that, we get a really strong seam.
So it's giving it some stability and strength rather than it's taking out the risk of it parting a bit.
Absolutely. But sometimes if we've got, if we're doing something like a pinwheel, where we would have 4 of these and we get 8 points all meeting in the middle, that can get really bulky. So that's where you might want to press the seams open. So it's not saying you never, ever do it.
A time and a place for open seams.
Absolutely. So what I thought we'd do now then is these are the 2 offcuts that we had earlier. So I thought if I show you how we can combine them with just some straight squares to make the heart block.
Absolutely, let's have a look at the heart. But also the cutting mat that you're seeing on well, we have all the time, we have a cutting mat here on the table at Sewing Quarter. Like Joy was saying, if you are using a rotary cutter, you do need a mat.
Absolutely.
You obviously can't do that straight onto your dining room table or kitchen table. You need, and the lovely thing about this is it's marked up for you, so you've got all of your sort of grid markings in inch increments across here, and you can use that to measure, and so often it saves having to get a tape measure out, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, it can do.
Not only for cutting, but also measuring.
Yeah.
But this is the heart block, so this is sort of a bigger version. And what I love about this is it looks curvy, but it's still triangles, it's still straight lines.
Still straight lines.
So you get that heart sort of shape, but without having to do the scary curves, which for some people, particularly in quilting,
can be a bit scary.
Is a bit scary.
Okay. So I'm going to try and set it up upside down so it's the right way for the camera, but it might go horribly
We could put it on the rotating cutting mat and turn it round.
We could. If we turn that round, I can use that to follow, can't I? So I've got 2 different these. So I've used them on the kisses. We ended up with some that were the white and the teal, and some that the white and the spot on. Okay, so we've got 2 of these. Now then, I've got to remember which way round I had all of these. I think the white...
Because some of them are solid whole square blocks, aren't they, in the centre?
Yeah, and I can't remember whether the white or the other one was there. So I've cut some squares.
So the lovely thing about these little blocks is these were actually the offcuts from the Kisses and Hugs block, where you cut those corners. So you've already got these made. You haven't got to do another set of cutting and measuring.
No. Now, I think the spots is what we're using as the background. So we'll go...
Oh, OK, so it's like a twist on that.
Yeah, so I think we'll go with that. And then we want one of these. This is the jigsaw-y bit that we need to do. So there's the top shape of our heart. Then we need to get some of these squares in here, and they just come across in alternating colours.
Yeah.
And then we're going to pop these into here. Now,
at the moment it looks like pyramids, doesn't it? We've got the 2.
It does a bit.
From the other way round.
So we want the white one in here. So you basically go in alternate...
Yeah, like a checkerboard. And then you're going to have
colours.
your spot-ons on the bottom corners, aren't you, here?
Yeah.
I can start to see the heart building.
Good.
Just move those.
Yeah. It's amazing how doing it upside down changes
Starts
your...
to distort your...
What's going on?
Plays with your mind a bit.
What is going on?
So the bundle on your screen at the moment is the Hearts bundle, which is this the teal that you can see, and also the we'll show you the colours in that Hearts bundle. This is that one. This is Hugs, I think, but the Hearts bundle is your candy pinks. You've got your heron grey. You've got the soft pink. You've got the crosshatch. Actually, it's this one here. If I show you, it's what our Hearts and Kisses and Hugs are in this this section of quilt that Joy has done. But Joe and Joy.
I can see you're going to get confused today with Joy and Joe, aren't you?
I know exactly who you both are, but it's Joe and Joy. It's all too many jizz. But we're good. So, and this bundle that we're working with at the moment, this is the Hugs one, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's just double check that. The reds and teals, we don't want to get that wrong. We'll check that one.
Yes.
Kisses. It's Kisses. We have got it wrong. So this one that we're working with is Kisses. This one here is Hearts. Okay.
So there you go. There's
a heart.
There's your heart. And then it's just a case, again, of chain sewing it all together. So, shall we do some?
So, how do you decide this? Do you go for rows or sort of columns? Which, does it matter?
Again, for me, I would have it set up on the left-hand side of the machine, and I work in columns coming down this way. So what I'm going to do is fold that one over, and I'm going to do the whole column all the way down like that. So they're all ready just to pick up
order.
And take over, and then we'll get this stitched down.
I can line these up ready to go.
Now then, have you turned that round?
No, I didn't touch it. I just picked it like that.
Yeah, but that's what... if somebody's helping you, that's it.
Check.
Yeah, we need to make sure, because if they do get twisted round, we'll end up with a funny-shaped heart.
So it's about picking it up exactly as it was.
Exactly as
on
it
that
is.
table, and just taking it straight to the machine.
That's it. Perfect. And then you can just check your alignment when you get to the machine.
We've had another message from Angela. Morning, Angela. And morning, Joy. Continually sewing squares together also saves a lot of thread.
It does.
So rather than having to keep doing those new sections, you know, keep chopping and changing with the machine and stop starting.
Yeah. And
very true. You're probably getting through lots of endless reels of thread if you're doing a lot of that with your squares.
So there's our first column. Now, I'm not going to take them apart, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick double check before I sew the next ones on.
Did I pass the test?
No.
No? I failed.
I don't know. I'm only joking.
No, that is right, isn't it? I'm worrying now. No, that is right. I was like, did I fail the test of literally just moving the fabric straight across the table?
I'm sorry, that was wicked, wasn't it?
But I passed. It's OK.
Yeah, you've passed the test.
Panic over.
So, now, I can't fold all of these over because as soon as I pick this up, they'll all go flying off.
Yes.
So, I'm making sure I'm starting at the top. And I know that it's this edge now that has got to be sewn. So I bring it up, pop it over, and then I'm going to sew it down. Again, if you've got seams that match up together, you need to make sure they're nicely lined up.
This looks a bit like bunting, doesn't it, at this point in time?
Yeah. So then I'm going to open this one, pick that one up, and turn it over. You're scared now, aren't you?
I am. For like all of about 10 seconds, I thought, how did I manage to fail to do that? To just pass it accurately across the table.
But do you know what? Joking apart,
so easy to do.
It happens. Yeah. It does happen.
I imagine as well, if this was a directional fabric, so like we were saying, if you had maybe cat and dog fabric or a busy floor, it would be really easy to
get them upside down.
Or to sort of flip it a different way.
Yeah, definitely. You're doing good. You're never going to want to work with me again now, are you?
It's useful. Lucy was saying yesterday she quite often will take a photo of what the finished thing is, so you can use that as a reference.
Oh, absolutely.
And check back,
all the time.
You know what's happening.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about having you've got a camera in your pocket all the time with a phone, haven't you now?
No, I failed miserably there. I've got a pleat in that one, but never mind. We'll carry on. I'll undo it later.
So we're actually, although you're sewing in columns, you're ending up with the formations of rows that you end up with.
Yeah, I end up with the whole block stitched together. And it's quite useful as well because if you're doing a lot of these blocks...
So that will be like that.
OK. If you get a lot of these blocks to do for a bigger quilt, by doing this, you can get them all to this stage and then you can go and do all your pressing and then you can come back and do the next stage. And obviously, it might take you 2 or 3 days if you've got a lot to do. So it just means that they're not going to get all muddled up in the meantime.
And also it means you can focus on one task and get into the flow of doing that for a while. And once you've done, you know, one heart block, if you're replicating and doing a lot of those, you're going to probably find that process becomes a little bit quicker if you're just focusing on that. And then you move to the iron and you just focus on that. And then
Absolutely. And of course, if you're a beginner as well, it helps to consolidate what you're learning and what you're doing. So hopefully now...
We've only got about 2 minutes, so we were pretty much there, aren't we, with our
So we would press them, seams going in opposite directions, and sew those 4 rows together, and our heart is done.
Lovely, brilliant. So thank you so much, Joy. You're actually back at 10.
I am.
And what are you doing at 10 o'clock?
We're going to talk about wadding.
Yes, we are talking about all different types of wadding.
Different types of wadding, yes.
Honestly, the studio is going to be filled with... We've got the biggest box of queen size, twins, doubles, all different size wadding, so we're going to look at those at 10. OK, will you go and grab a cup of tea?
Yeah, OK.
Thanks for my pressing lesson.
You're welcome.
That's giving me a fright. I got it all wrong. So let's have a look at these different fabrics. We've got 3 different fabric bundles this morning. The one that Joy's been working with, I'll start with. So this is your reds and teals. Which one's most popular at the moment? Oh, it's the mauve one, so we'll look at that in a sec. But you can see here you've got your red linear look fabric, a red spot on, a teal, an aqua and a white. That's the Kisses bundle, FFGC70. The most popular is our lilacs and mauve. So you've got the dusty purple, you've got your lilac, and you've got obviously your crosshatch heron grey. That one is on the bottom of your screen. That's Hugs. And the last one is Hearts, which is our pink. So candy flosses and soft pinks there. And again, your nice bright aqua. 2.5 metres in all of those bundles, so 5 half-metre cuts. Now, you're not going to want to go anywhere. If you can see this huge Kaffe Facet quilt behind me, we've got a kit for this in the next hour. Joe's waiting in the wings, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in 3 minutes.
Follow us on Pinterest. Search for our Sewing Quarter page and follow us to discover sewing work we create and love.
So I'm going to be showing you how to do a hem stitch. Now, a hem stitch is just a row of small slanting stitches that are used to secure your hem. So in this case, I'm pretending that this is going to be the bottom of a trouser leg. I'm first going to take my needle through the single hem. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail before I place that back down. So then I'm going to do a double stitch. Now this is just where you sew over the same area twice, so you're creating a knot. So that's 1, 2. So that's securing my thread now. And now we can begin doing our hem stitch. So you're going to need to bring your needle in at a diagonal. So you want to pick up a few stitches from what would be the trouser leg before then going into your hem, so you can make this stitch a little bit bigger. And then repeating that process again at a diagonal. I'm going to be picking up a few stitches of the trouser leg, and then we can pick up more of the single hem. So I'm making these stitches super big so you can see what I'm doing. But when you do this at home, you'd want to make these a little bit closer together. Okay, so there's my row of hem stitching, and if I just turn this over, you can see the very small stitches on the other side. So if you're doing this in a normal thread and not a thick thread, you won't be able to see those at all.
When you spend £10 on your first purchase, you will receive this free sewing kit from the Sewing Quarter worth £14.99.
Tune in on the 31st of August when textile artist Tilly Rose joins us back in the studio. At 8 a.m, Tilly will be sharing all of her tips and experience to help you learn freehand embroidery, as well as showing us the Elna 680EX sewing machine. With a vast amount of features and 170 different stitches, this must-have machine will certainly meet all of your sewing needs. Then at 10 a.m, join us for a masterclass with Tilly. She'll show us more freehand embroidery techniques using features on the Elna 680EX to create some gorgeous autumnal panels. The perfect project for those cosy nights in. So join Tilly on the 31st of August for her masterclass on freehand embroidery at 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Only on Sewing Quarter, Freeview Channel 78.
Good morning, welcome back. Jo, do you remember the routine? We're going to do the cave dance around the quilt this morning. So this is the cave strips quilt that we've got, which is absolutely gorgeous. We wanted to start on this side to give you an idea of the scale of this quilt that we've got in this hour. Now, this actually comes as a kit, so you get everything you need to make this quilt, and it's huge, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely massive. We've got a photo, we'll show you in a bit, of us all like, we've got the backing fabric out this morning and we were laying it out on our office floor. Me, producer Hayley and Jo all managed to lay on the quilt. It's absolutely massive. But the actual, with Kaffe Facet, as we always know, king of colour, has just got an eye of putting things together in different combinations that we might not necessarily think of, and he's done exactly that here with this quilt. And Jo, tell us a bit about how this, you just said to me, this is almost like one big block. There's not a lot of piecing, is there, here?
It's really, I mean, it's perfect for a beginner. The piecing is really simple, although you don't, when you look at it, you don't get a sense of that at all because there's so much going on, especially with the stripes as well. But it's a nice, simple project to piece, but you get all this sort of colour and because there's so much going on with the fabric, it just looks so much more complex.
But you're getting the wow factor without actually having to do as much work, because like you say, the actual fabric itself, it almost looks like it has been put together with lots of different blocks. If you can't see, this is actually, you can probably see more on those close-ups, but this fabric is all cut in, you cut it into strips, so it arrives as one big box with all of your wadding and everything. But this is one big panel in the middle.
It is.
And then you just add the strips onto it as you go across. With all of these, you know, these beautiful, bright, bold fabrics. These almost look like watercolours, don't they?
They are. I mean, they're beautiful, these batik fabrics.
What are the different fabrics? So these aren't all... they've got some different ones in here, haven't we?
They have. One of the first things I noticed, because it was in the office, it's just the feel of it. It really is. There's a difference in texture, which it's so tactile. This woven fabric here is so soft, and then you've got the firmer structure of these batik ones, and the difference, it's very strokeable.
Very strokeable, but from a sensory point of view, you do actually get that difference between, like you said, if you go between... So what's this fabric then, and the difference between this and this, where you get that different feel?
This is a woven fabric, so it's woven with coloured threads, and it's just so much softer. I mean, you notice when you sew with it as well, but this one is beautiful. I mean, you've got the real saturated colours on this one as well, and the depth.
What is a batik, if someone doesn't know? What does that mean?
I'm not 100% sure. A batik is a style of dyeing fabric.
Yeah.
But I've never done it. I've seen lots of batik fabrics. I think... it's something to do with wax and the way that they're dyed. And how it's made and created. Yes.
But it gives you this effect, if you can just see here. This looks like it's a watercolour, or it's got that sort of real depth to it. You can see almost like a mottled effect to the strips in this section here. And obviously this has been beautifully quilted as well. It's not just about the fabric. What's lovely about this is once you've pieced it and put it together and done your strips, the creative part is actually more so probably in how you choose to quilt it. Yes. And what you choose to do with it. How would you do this? How would you quilt it?
I don't know. I would probably sit down for about 2 days with a doodle pad and just think...
what am I going to do?
I don't know, because it's... pieced in a geometric sort of with the strips, but then the fabric is, the lines are very organic and sort of free. I mean, you get a real sense of movement with the sort of structured lines of this fabric and then the softer ones of these, and the stripes going this way and that way. You can go, I don't know, you could go geometric with your quilting, or you can do, curves.
And the floral looks lovely as well, sort of going through here with your swirls and your petals and or like you say, you could chop and change it. So you could go for something quite geometric in this busy panel in the central section, and then you could sort of, you could even go big, couldn't you, and sort of a bit all the way around if you wanted to with borders. And also what's lovely about this is it's not just the front. I'm not going to turn this over and show you a really plain back. I don't think you'd expect that with Kaffe anyway, would you? But I'll do a reveal. Look at this, gorgeous, bright. I mean, I love it just as much on this side. If you're going to perhaps lay this over a bed or on the bottom of the bed, this lovely print is a really great way to just inject some colour into. Producer Hayley was saying this morning, my house is very white and cream and grey, and if you wanted to pop some colour in, this does the job, absolutely.
It does, and especially as we're heading into winter as well. I crave a bit of colour as soon as it gets grey outside. But these are beautiful, sort of like a silk painted style with the outline and the filled in colour. It really is. It's so soft as well.
It is a really lovely soft backing fabric. But you've got those lovely different bright, bold florals in sort of smaller and bigger prints there as well. And as Jo said, it is really, really soft.
I love this blue. It really does.
Where would you put this in your house, Jo?
All beds. Well, I don't know, actually. Maybe. Every bed has a quilt on it, but I also like...
Every bed has a quilt on it.
It does. I also like a couple folded up in the living room so we can get them out at night and...
Snuggly with a film.
Yeah. And they add a really nice burst of colour to the sofa and, the living room as well, especially because our living room's quite cream.
But that's exactly what producer Hayley said. Lots of people they go safe, don't they, with decor?
Yeah.
But what's lovely is if you want to throw in some accessories that are going to make it add that splash of bright, bold colour. But this Kaffe Facet quilt, you get all of the fabric for the whole... In fact, let's go and look at the box and what's in there, and I'll show you. It looks like we've got a present waiting for us over there, Jo. Shall we go and have a look? So we're going to look at this backing fabric first of all. So let's go and look over here. Oh, look, there we are, laying on our backing fabric. That's how big it is. So, in case you don't know, in the middle there is obviously I'm on the side, Jo's in the middle, and that's producer Hayley, who's in my ear today. You can see us laying there on the floor. We were having a lovely time. 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning, I think we were probably thinking, we could get back into bed, or we could lay on the office floor on a Kaffe Facet quilt. Why not? So that's your backing fabric that you could see, and that's just giving you an idea of the scale. In fact, the finished quilt, when we get the instructions out, I'll give you the dimensions for that in sort of metric and imperial, but this is like a present. Let's do it. So it arrives to you in this lovely box, and inside you've obviously got all of your instructions. Here's the quilt photographed. And I can spy Kaffe Facet on the back. We had him in on the 10th of August. He did an absolutely amazing show with Natasha, talking about his process of, his creativity process and his inspiration and how he puts colours together and does all of those things. But also all of your instructions in here for the assembly of the quilt. And you've got your finished sizes here, so 71 by 83 in inches. And in centimetres, let me just lean over, 180 centimetres by 210 is your finished quilt size. And then obviously you've got all of your instructions for your cutting, for your sewing, for your assembly. If I just hold that here so you can see. And I'm talking you through all of the fabric that's in this box that we're about to dive into and show you. And it is so much fabric. This is going to be a delivery that takes some unpacking. So let's carry on unpacking. Let's go. We've got tissue paper in there. This feels like Christmas.
It does.
We don't get the blue ribbon. That's the only thing we don't get. Let's just move that out of the way. So here we go. There is so much fabric here. If I drop this on the table, you can just... look at all of this. Huge amounts of fabric. Let's have a look. So this is the central panel. Should we open it out so we can just see the sort of size of that? Let's move that to the side. So with that central block, which we can see on the finished quilt, that isn't lots of little blocks put together. This is just one big...
It is, but it really does give the impression of that.
It is. It looks like someone's sat and painstakingly cut strips and pieced it.
Okay.
But you could actually quilt it really cleverly and make it look like...
You could.
Look like you have done the work. Let's open that one up. So that's that central. that central block. Really bright colours you can just see there, can't you, with all of your pinks and oranges and... But also with these, with all of these fabrics that you get in this kit, there's quite a lot left over. In fact, you could make a couple of cushions. There's enough to do a few cushions. Joe's done a really scaled down version of the quilt that we're going to look at in this hour to give you an idea of the assembly. But you will have fabric left, so you know, if you want to, if you are going down the home decor route and you're going to put it on the bed,
Yes.
have some matching scatter cushions, couldn't you?
You could. There is plenty left over. I mean, I love this one. It had the impact it has from a distance, but also when you look up close, I love these pink stripes that run across it, but actually they're made up of 2 colours as well.
Like a two-way colour, you can see there. I think, actually, you find this with a lot of Kaffe fabrics, but the more you look at them, the more you see.
Yes.
You take it in as one big impact, and then you actually look a bit closer and you go, oh, there's more to that. Than meets the eye.
There is, and I find myself looking at the colours and just realising how many different colours there are in it as well. Because that, for me, that's where I'm weakest. I tend to play safe, and I really admire sort of use of colour like that, and I wish it came naturally to me. I really have to spend hours poring over it. Well, maybe everybody does, but yes, and I love seeing the colours he puts together and how they work.
So also you get, so all of these fabrics, I'm just going to quickly show you the ones you've got here. So you've got the orange and purple sort of stripe there. And this is the one that I was saying is a little bit like a watercolour. You can just see it's got a real, it's not a plain stripe at all. It's got a real depth to it. And again, with your different textures here, you get a different feel to these fabrics. Again, you've got another stripe in your yellow and orange. Then this is that one we were talking about that was the woven.
And it's beautifully soft.
Really, really, this is a lovely soft... Should we open this one out? So the way that this has been dyed is slightly different, isn't it? And it's... We've got so much... We can't even fit it behind our desk, look. We've got so much fabric. All of this in your bundle.
There are 2 sections of this stripe around the central. There's one right next to the central block and then further out as well towards the edge.
You can see there on that top section of the quilt hanging on the wall. It's almost even off the top of your frame there, but you can see it's on the top and bottom.
Sorry, I'm not folding this very well.
I feel like we're doing to me to you. Should we do it like this? Then we've also got another stripe. We've got 2 more fabrics to show you that all come in this massive bundle. So you've got the pink and blue. Again, with that sort of... It's like a mottled sort of... It looks like it's been, like, not dabbed, but it's got, like, a
You get a real sense of the dye, don't you?
Yeah. You can sort of see that there. And finally, I think this is my favourite fabric of all of them, is your backing.
It's beautiful. And often, because it's... I think it's 108 inches wide.
Extra wide, really wide.
So you don't have to piece the back. That's another job taken out there. But often... backing fabrics, the extra wide fabrics, you don't get much of a choice of design or colour even, and this I just think is amazing.
That was the thing that Joy actually said this morning because we were all sort of looking at the quilt, and she was saying it's so... The extra wide fabric, she hates piecing the backing for a quilt, and the fact that you haven't got to do that. This is, you know, I've barely opened this up. This is 2 metres. This is one huge piece of backing. You haven't got to piece it. It's there ready to go.
It's 2 size.
So this whole kit today is everything you can see to make that quilt. So you're going to make it to that scale. It's not a scaled down version. It also includes in this box of joy this massive piece of... you've got all of your wadding there as well. So you've got everything you need to make it to that size. This Kaffe Facet quilt, you've got your backing, you've got all of the fabrics for the front of the quilt, and you've got the batting. 24995, sorry, let's say that correctly. MBRW79, but you're getting everything in there that you need. And also this is a lovely way to play around with that we're going to look at now, the actual quilting side of it, because...
Yes.
You know, you can spend more than that on a quilt quite easily if you wanted to, couldn't you, on a big quilt?
Absolutely. I mean, I dread to think... I would never like to break down what I've spent on some of my quilts. But I think they're so personal and... yes,
You're invested.
I'm a big fan of quilts. Yeah.
And you're invested in a quilt, aren't you?
Yes.
You know, from a time perspective, but also from, you know, from the fact that you've put it all together and you've made that and it's homemade and it's going to sit in your house and it's something that
you keep it for years and it's an heirloom piece and yes.
What's your favourite thing about that quilt?
I think it was the colour, obviously, but there's movement in it as well. Considering the piecing isn't really complex, I think the movement and the depth that's been achieved by I really like. Yeah, it's one of those that I could just stare at for
and
a while.
just find more and more.
But I mean, the colours are amazing, and yes, I mean.
Do you know what I've just noticed again, looking at it more and more, the binding uses that central panel, and it's almost like those candy sweet. I don't know if I can say the name of the sweets, but it's got that sort of all different bright sweeties all around the edges in your binding, if we can see there. Really, like another detail, another thing that's just adds to framing it really well. It is a piece of art. It really is a piece of art. Oh, I've just been told, the phone lines have gone crazy. It's a flurry of people. We've obviously only just brought the graphics in for this kit this morning. 249.95. The phone lines are open now for this. If you do like it, please do check out your baskets. We don't want you to miss out. Lots of people buying this one this morning, loving it. This huge piece of art, MBRW79. Or you can give the call centre a ring, 0800 112 4433. If perhaps you want a big delivery of this box to you. So morning to Claire and Jane, Wendy, Adele, Charlotte, lots of people buying this. Congratulations. Brenda, loads of people buying this morning. So I'm so pleased you're getting involved and that you're loving it as much as we are. And I want to show you as well how we do it. So we get a bit more of an idea of how this works. So where would you like to start, Jo? Where's good for you?
Should I start? This quilt has, I think it was on Kaffe Day.
The 10th of August. That's etched in my memory, Kaffe Day.
So I'm not going to spend too much time on the piecing. I'll go through it quickly now, but the instructions are brilliant. I don't know whether my instructions are a little bit scribbled.
That's all right, it's fine. They're used.
But they're really clear, and you have a code. Each of the fabrics is assigned a letter, so the central one is A, and it tells you, let's find, exactly, fabric A, cut the central panel from the upper left corner, so you're told where to cut it from, and then with the fabric strips, so going from selvage to selvage, straight across, with the fabric strips, and this one is 7 inches deep, and then the others are 4, I think.
OK. So it tells you how you need to cut these strips from the fabric when it arrives like this. So
begin by doing your cutting out, and they are easily recognisable, but I would still pop a label on once you've cut them out. So they're in piles, and pop a label on which letter and the size, and then you can, once you sit down, you don't have to get up again and think, which one was this? Let's measure it out and
double check things.
Once I start, I don't like to move from my chair.
You might be in a long time sitting in that chair today. OK, so you cut and label up your fabrics. That's step 1.
And then it's just a case of stitching them, pin them, because they're quite long lengths, it's good to pin them in place and then sew them. This is a bit thready. And then it shows you the layout as well, how to attach them.
Do you know what I love? So quickly you feel like you've already made quite a big quilt, and it's actually just 2 pieces of fabric.
It says you've
got this massive bit
2
of your
seams
done.
And you're here already. Yeah. And then these ones will go on either end, and then it's just carry on in that fashion.
But you can just see here where those 2 fabrics have come together. So far, only 2 seams put in place. You've got these top and bottom strips. Then we're going to add the sides. So it's almost like adding a frame to that central panel that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
It is.
So that's the next one, would be to do the side sections.
But yes, keep everything labelled up and then just sit down and happily, maybe a hot drink, happily
assemble.
Pin and sew.
I said to Joy this morning, we had a rotating cutting mat. I'd quite like an afternoon tea on one of those, like a lazy Susan, that
nice.
You can just spin around on the rotating cutting mat.
I quite like a conveyor belt that just comes past.
Just moves and you just take things,
and drinks.
like they do with sushi in some places. Let's do that for tea and cake.
I might see if my son can do that with his train set. That would improve.
What, they all deliver each train delivers a new little baked good to you.
That'd be perfect.
Biscuits and cookies. So what do we do next?
So just carry on in that fashion, adding your strips, and gradually,
build out
quickly, the top will be pieced.
You can see here, actually, this is where this picture gives you an idea of the strips and how they build around. So you literally just keep going, adding your strips. And the top, like you say, Jo, is going to come together quite speedily, really. You can see this is the central panel, and then you're just adding your different fabrics. Just to recap, the finished size of the quilt is 71 inches by 93 inches. 83, actually. Let me check the instructions. This one. Yeah, 71 by 83 inches. In centimetres, it's 180 centimetres by 210. You can see it there on our wall. And have we got the picture as well of us all laying on the backing, just to give you an idea of the size? Here it comes. We look like we're on some sort of crazy roller coaster. That's the backing. That shows you. That's producer Hayley, Jo and I this morning on the back of the quilt. 2 metres of backing fabric. So once you've assembled that front with all of those sections,
then I'm going to concentrate more on what to do once you've got the top pieced and where to progress from there.
OK.
But also another tip, actually, the instructions are beautiful, and I like to make notes over everything. So taking a copy of them that you can scribble notes on, just to remind you what to do where, or what you've cut out, or what you need to cut out.
And to not feel bad about writing on them. If you've got a copy, then it's fine, isn't it?
Because once I've cut something out, it gets scratched off.
Scribbled through.
It does.
Oh, there's nothing more satisfying than ticking things off your to-do list.
Sometimes
I love that.
I write things on my to-do list that I've already done. Just to
do that. Sometimes I put silly jobs on there, like paint nails, and then I can just tick it through, just to give myself feel like I've achieved something.
A sense of achievement's a great thing.
Of course it is.
Now, with the leftover fabric, because I can't baste a quilt, I can't get down on the floor and baste a full-size quilt like that. It would take probably the whole time for me just to pick it up. So from a perspective, we've scaled this down so Jo doesn't have to get on the floor and work with 2 metres of backing fabric. So you're going to show us, look at this. This is actually imagining you'd have enough leftover fabric to make one like this if you wanted to replicate the quilt for a cushion or a bag. But I think, scatter cushions, you've got enough fabric in there to do this is an exact mirror image of the quilt, but that Jo's scaled down for us. I've just shrunk it right down so that I can demonstrate with this on the tabletop. And
so we're imagining the quilt's been badly washed and shrunk right down to this size.
It went on a very, very hot wash. Yes, hotter than the surface of the sun, I think, to get
it quite that small.
Right. I'll remember where I'm up to now. I drifted then for a moment. So once you've got your top, give it a really good press. Get it nice and crease-free.
OK. I've just had a lovely lesson on pressing from Joy.
Have you?
I have actually learned quite a lot about pressing this morning.
So I've got some backing. And the first step, you need to make the quilt, you might have heard it referred to as the quilt sandwich. And that's the 3 layers, the backing, then the batting, the wadding in the centre, and then the top.
Yeah.
So for the backing, make sure it's really well pressed, because getting this section, this part of the process right makes everything else easier later on. So the smoother this is, the less chance you'll have creases or sort of puckers in the back once you've finished quilting your quilt.
So it's all in your prep. You need to make sure you've taken the time to press that and get it exactly nice and crisp.
Absolutely.
Do you want some more space? I feel like let's move this, because we've got our box of joy here. Let's move these over.
I have to say my trolley's not very neat. I've just sort of heaped everything into
There's so much fabric.
So with your backing fabric, nicely pressed, clear a space on the floor. I do this in my living room and the furniture gets pushed out of the way.
Do you really?
Give the carpet a really good hoover. Push all the furniture out of the way and spread it out.
Children, animals out of the vicinity.
Well, I work to a deadline. I often do it when the children are at school, so it has to be done. There's no...
By 3 o'clock, by pick-up time.
And to keep this nice and taut, use some tape to tape it to the floor.
Oh, OK.
So you need tape on each side, and you can stretch it nice and taut and tape it into position. And then, if it's taped to the floor, it's not going to move. But you could do this on a hard floor. I'm going to pin baste. There are different ways to baste the 3 layers together once it's layered up. I'm going to use safety pin, curved pins.
OK. Obviously, there are different options if people wanted to do that slightly differently. Why do you opt for curved pins?
Because it's quick, I think. You can stitch baste, so you can put wide stitches that you'll remove later across to hold all 3 layers together, but that does take quite a while. And you can use spray baste
to hold it if you wanted
which
to.
is repositional
Okay.
spray. And then you would spray the back once it's nice and tall.
You can really see why at this point, if, as Joy said this morning, if you had to piece the backing as well, that's quite a headache, isn't it? The fact that this is one big piece of backing that's already ready to go, it's another job, isn't it, if you have to do that too?
It is, and also you might need to pattern match as well, because especially with a print, you would notice on the back if it didn't quite meet up. So not only having to join it together, but then also match the pattern maybe. So
it's quite
extra wide.
time-consuming.
Is wonderful.
If you've just tuned in this morning, we have got an incredible Facet quilt. It's like a huge piece of art. It's like I feel like we're in an art gallery this morning, hanging on our wall, and it's a massive quilt. This is a kit, and everything you need to make the quilt to that full size comes in the kit, including the batting, including all of your backing fabric, which, as Jo was just saying, is an extra wide fabric. You don't have to piece it. You don't have to worry about pattern matching. It comes ready to go. You've got all of your fabrics there to make it. It's a 71-inch by 83-inch quilt. Beautiful colours, and we've also got different textures coming in there with the different fabrics. Some of them much more silky and smooth, and the way they come together, sort of, it's from a sensory point of view, it feels really lovely to touch. And then from there you can go ahead and you can quilt it however you wish. And you know, if you want to go crazy with curves and flowers, or if you want to keep it geometric, you can interpret that however. I wonder if anyone from the Facet Day when he was in on the 10th, if anyone's made this already, please do send in a picture. studio@sewingquarter.com. We'd love to see. Let's have twins. Let's have twin quilts this morning.
So I've got this nice, and I would just readjust the tape just to make sure it's really nice and taut and flat.
So really flat.
So I did something, but imagine this on a large scale.
Yeah, on your whole floor.
Yes. And then if you have a cat, this would be the point that the cat walks in. And then
you go, shoo, shoo, shoo.
Because a cat cannot resist
a quilt.
A quilt, no. My cat will snuggle down to go to sleep on my quilt as I am quilting it often. So the bit that's not going through the machine
is exactly where he wants to be.
Yes. And then glare at me if I disturb him by moving the quilt through the machine. So then...
And the wadding is the same size as the backing at this stage, or do we have to cut it down?
I cut the wadding and the backing to the same size, but they need to be larger than the quilt top.
Okay.
And if you're doing a full-size quilt, it needs to be... You need a good 3 or 4 inches all the way around.
So you've got enough batting and backing in there to do that, so your quilt top's going to sit with that border here of your backing and wadding.
Yes, because things can move about and shift. And I have made a quilt, it's my youngest son's quilt actually, where I didn't leave enough overlap on one side and it shifted down, and so the binding is regular size on the front but extra deep on the back to cover the fact that
it has shifted.
Yes, I just didn't leave enough.
Are you scarred by that, Jo?
Oh, do you know...
Every time you look at it, are you like, oh, how did that happen?
Do you know, I can't look at that quilt without thinking...
That's good. That's good, though. That makes you feel better that no one's perfect. You still... Things still go wrong.
I tried to say it dispassionately.
Yeah, just to pretend it's fine, but really it's... Jo's laying in bed at night thinking that binding on the quilt.
It's one of the darkest moments in my quilting history.
So massive congratulations to everyone who's already getting involved and has bought this quilt this morning. You're in for a treat when this arrives in that massive box. I bet you can't wait to get your delivery and get started with making this. MBRW79. Really, really popular this morning. Please do check out your baskets on that, or give the call centre a ring, 0800 112 4433. And Jo now is just about to talk us through the process of how we're going to turn it into a quilt, go from this quilt sandwich into what would be a quilt.
So I've opted for pin basting. There are different, each of the sort of the 3 main ways. So stitch based, sewing them together, or spray based. So you'd spray the backing fabric, then position the wadding over the top, and then I would spray the wadding and then fit and smooth out all the creases, smooth those together. But the method I've chosen is pin basting because I just prefer it. So if you find one that you like the most, doing it by hand, sewing, really does take a while. But even this, actually, to pin them, and I start in the centre and work out.
Have we got the pins
can take a while.
So these are curved pins. I saw these for the first time yesterday, and then now I've seen them 2 days in a row. Lucy was using these for quilting yesterday as well. But rather than it being a straight edge safety pin, it has a curve. And the benefit of that is that, therefore, you know, so often with a safety pin, it's difficult to sort of click it into place, isn't it, once you've laid it flat in the fabric? So let's just watch you do it, and you can explain.
Go in, and you know you're picking up all 3 layers. Out again, and just click it into position.
And you don't have to feel like you're bending the pin, because actually sometimes straight safety pins end up looking a bit like that, where you're trying to bend it into the fabric.
A regular safety pin is really difficult, actually, to use. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but that bend really does make a massive difference.
It's just getting it easily into the... How many pins do you reckon you need for a quilt this big?
Oh, I'm terrible at estimate. I don't know.
Or how far apart would you be placing them? Similar to how you're doing it on this smaller scale?
There's the general rule of thumb, the hand test, and the one I use is if you can put your hand, once you've added the pins, if you can put your hand down on any area of your quilt top and not touch a pin, then you need to add some more.
Okay, I've never heard that.
So I put them quite close together.
So we're going for sort of hands apart and spreading
it.
Yeah.
You want to touch them as you put your hand down.
So the 150 in there, I reckon that's probably enough, I would say, for... Although it is a very big quilt.
It is.
And you don't want to pin it to the carpet.
Well, actually, I often do pin it to the carpet. As long as you've not got a looped carpet, that will cause problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, if you have a wooden floor or something like that, they will scratch it, so you need to make sure... I know some people will...
An old bed sheet or something?
Will sweep the patio.
Oh, really?
Put it on, yes.
Dedication to either hoovering or patio sweeping.
Yes, but we need to recarpet.
So you're allowed to pin.
But no, I will choose a new carpet based on whether it's conducive to pin basting.
For quilting? That's brilliant. Is that when you go to the shop and someone says, so what are you looking for in your carpet?
Yes.
And you say, well, can I just lay it out and check I can do some quilting and basting on here? If you've just tuned in, we've got the Kaffe Facet quilt this morning, and this is a scaled-down version of it. So it's an exact replica of the quilt top, and obviously the backing that Joe's taped to the table, and the wadding or the batting. So this is just a scaled-down version because obviously Joe can't. We'd be, as Joe's saying, we'd be on the floor of the studio doing this if not, and it's far too big for us to manage on the table. But that's the size of the finished quilt there. Absolutely huge, 71 inches by 83. Beautiful to lay over a bed. Or, as Joe said, you could perhaps have it on the sofa, or... I might just quickly go over and show that backing fabric while you're just pinning. I just want you to see how beautiful... I love the back as much as the front. In fact, I'd be tempted, I think. I'd have to chop and change. But just look here at the... at that beautiful backing print. It's really gorgeous pattern. And it's such a soft fabric as well. And with lots of people checking this out, if you have got any questions for Joe, if you've just bought this quilt this morning, please do send them in. You can do that on the website or via email. But this is just, honestly, this is such a lovely soft backing fabric. And like we're saying, it's a really extra wide piece of backing, so you haven't got to piece it. You haven't got to worry about pattern matching with these flowers. You just lay this out on your carpet or your wooden floor, and off you go. Anne's just bought one. Congratulations, Anne. Becky, was that from Becky? Oh, Betty in Devon. Morning, Betty. Maria in London, Susan, Bridget, lots of people loving the quilt this morning. So Jill as well, morning Jill, and Claire. Oh, Jane, we've got so many people. I love it. Please send us pictures when you've done it as well. And if you've got any questions, as I said for Joe, if you're not sure about the process, if you bought it and now you're thinking, oh, I don't know how I would quite do the quilting. But this was the binding I just wanted to pick out as well. Maybe if I come to this side. Look at this here, you can just see this beautiful, it's almost like Sweeties, but it picks out that pattern that's in the central panel. Goes beautifully with the backing as well. You can just see. And with all of these fabrics that come in the kit, you have a lot left over. So you will be left with, fabric if you wanted to make a couple of scatter cushions, or perhaps if you wanted to make, even bags, or if you wanted to cover a bin or a lampshade to just pick out with some of those fabrics. Have we got some of those? We're going to hold out the backing fabric so you can see quite how large this is with our floor manager, Jay, who's been at A&E last night. His shoulders popped out, so he's not good. He's got a sling on this morning. But I'm just going to show you that central panel. Are we holding this out? Am I holding? Okay. So look, if I show you here, this is the central panel that you get. You're using this for your binding. But if we compare this to that central panel section here, you've still got a lot of fabric left. It's almost I'm trying to look this way as well. You've almost got double again. Leftovers. You will have fabric here to make other things, other bits and pieces. The small the scaled down quilt top that Joe's pinning at the moment will be perfect for a matching cushion to have that exact replica of what's going on there. And just once more, I'm going to show you that lovely backing. Oh, I love it this way round. I really, really do. I'd be really tempted to even have it, you know, it's reversible. And I know it's really hard to believe, but this quilt is beginner level. When you see it like that, you think, no way, what's she talking about? No way can that be a beginner quilt. But it really is, because you're just piecing this main section in the centre and then these strips running all the way around the outside. And also as well, you know, if you're an experienced quilter and you do want something that's going to come together slightly more quickly, it's a lovely way to experiment with some different quilting techniques. Here we've got a floral sort of and a spiral going through this, but if you wanted to go geometric, we were saying if you wanted to make this almost look like you've pieced it with blocks, you could use really clever quilting here to do that and to pick out the different stripes in that central panel. But, you know, if you... Some people, I'm just sending their quilts off to be quilted. If you do quilt your own, send us a picture of one that you've done. Or if you did manage to get this kit last time when we had the man himself, we had Facet here on the 10th of August. If you did buy this quilt then, please send in a picture this morning, studio@sewingquarter.com. That's your email address that you can send a snap into. And all of your backing is included with this kit. And your batting, your wadding is all there as well, ready to go. So we do the hand test.
Hand test.
We're touching pins all over the place. We're safely pinned. OK, so.
Also, when you start this, don't do half, pick it up. I think I'll spread it out later and carry on. Once you've started and it's all stretched out, it needs to be done in one go.
So set yourself some time.
Yes. Don't do it just before school pick-up.
No.
Not in my home.
Why would that be wrong to do it the other way around, to do half?
You'd never get it as perfectly flat in the same way again. It needs to be done in one go. Trying to lay it out and get it as you had it originally, there would just be some movement and you'd end up getting folds in the back.
So you'd get some contortion, or you'd get maybe little ripples or anything like that.
And it would affect the finish at the end, had the stitching, the quilting on the back. So, yes, do it in one. OK.
We've had a top tip sent. Was this sent in? Who was this from? From Em. Morning, Em. She sent it in via email, so let's see what this message is. Top tip for pin basting. OK, here we go. Slide your ruler under the quilt, so the 6-inch by... Oh, OK. So slide the ruler under the pin, under the thing, so you don't catch the carpet. That's a really good tip.
That is a good tip.
Because with that bigger ruler, you could do a section, check your hand, then move it along and do...
You could. That's a really good tip, actually.
Thanks,
I like
Em.
that
Good
one.
tip. See, sharing of knowledge. Well, this is great. That's exactly what it's all about.
I've picked up so much from working here.
From people saying, oh, you could try it like this or do it like that.
Move all the tape.
Actually, it's like that ruler. We've got that big ruler. You could just slip that underneath, couldn't you, and do...
You could.
So if you do get a new carpet that doesn't quite fit the requirements, you could maybe use it as an excuse to get a bigger ruler.
I like... When I take it up, I quite like it because it fluffs the carpet up.
But you don't have to hoover.
Yes, I'm giving too much away about the state of my house.
It's all right, no, we still love you anyway. OK, so what do we do now?
Yeah, I'm giving too much away this morning. So this is how it looks on the back now. So nice and even, and those pins holding everything into position.
Yeah, all of those pins popped through.
And the next step is quilting.
OK.
Now, quilting, there are a few things to do before you start. Make sure you have a comfy chair for a start.
Yeah.
And also, next to you, try and have a chair or a table or something to support the weight of the quilt, because it is a big quilt. And you don't want it dragging, so you're wrestling to stop it from dragging, and that will have an effect on your stitching. So try and get the quilt that's not going through the machine supported on something.
Okay, so something to take the weight of the main body of the quilt
Yes.
while you're working on one section.
Yes, I have a really small sewing table, and to quilt I have to go downstairs and open the dining table out fully, and so that the quilt that's going through is supported as well.
And some people use that the extendable sort of.
Yes, an extension table.
Yeah, if you wanted
Great.
to, it gives you a little bit more room around the machine itself to sort
It
of
holds it up and
hold it up and support it. So the first thing you said you needed was a comfy chair. We don't have a comfy chair for Jo, so we've already failed. But we're doing a smaller version, so we're okay to,
it's not
to do this.
full-size quilt.
No, we're okay to do this anyway. No, you're meant to say I need a comfy chair, and then we get Jo a comfy chair to quilt in. Okay, so what do we do next?
Now, it depends. Before you baste, you might have thought of a quilt design. My trusty water erasable pen, sometimes I will draw a design on. Often I will follow. I'm not a big fan of stitching in the ditch, and quilting in the ditch is stitching along the seams.
So on these joins?
On the actual seam itself. I like to stitch just inside it.
Why is that then? Why do you prefer that?
I just worry, and it possibly is just my own concern, that I don't want the needle to break any of the stitches that join the pieces together.
Yeah, OK, so rather than where you pieced it, you think it might be a little bit risky?
Yes, I mean, if you pressed your seams to one side, it's very limited, and it's possibly just my own hang-up, really, about stitching in the ditch. But yes, I like to stitch just to one side.
Just the side of the ditch, on the road?
Yes, on the road.
Let's stitch on the road then. Is that what you want to do to start with?
Well, I think today I'm just going to, for speed, I'm just going to do some wavy lines. When you're quilting, start in the centre. So if you're going to do lines top to bottom, start in the centre and work out. Often on a big quilt, I like to start in the very centre and work out and do it a quarter at a time. Or, well, I'd do a few and then turn around and do the other side.
Would you just eyeball the centre? You just sort of, or would you measure that?
I would eyeball it, actually.
OK.
But top to bottom, you can start at one end and go top to bottom, but you need to start in the centre and work out. And I find it easiest starting in the centre and working from the left to the right. And the quilt that's going through, to get it through the harp, this machine is ideal for quilting because it has that bigger harp. You've got that room, but you need to roll your quilt. Imagine this is huge.
Yeah.
Roll your quilt so that you feed it. You've got this roll.
You've got a big Swiss roll
it's a manageable
in there,
amount.
ready to go through.
Yes.
OK. And in terms of decorative stitches as well, you could really go to town on this if you wanted to, couldn't you?
You could. I think it's perfect for it. Because the piecing is quite simple, you could really use this as a quilt with intense quilting, I think.
Yeah. So rather than this being about, you know, the actual piecing and the layout of your fabric, that element is decided for you to a certain extent. This is where your creativity and the design takes over, because you can choose exactly how you want to quilt this.
Yes, and it makes it unique to you as well. If you were going to quilt sections, start in the centre, and if you just wanted to quilt that area, quilt that bit first and then work out that way.
Should we do some then?
I'm going to go top to bottom from the centre. If I was doing straight lines, you can mark straight lines. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot.
No, not at all, not at all.
You can use masking tape on top of your quilt, line that up and stitch next to the... not through the masking tape, but stitch next to the masking tape and then use that as your guide.
As your centre guide.
Or you can mark it, use your ruler and a water erasable pen, which I use water erasable pens for everything.
Do you, Jo?
I do, yeah. But you could do any design, mark it out. It's easiest before you put the pins on.
So really, you would do that while it's still on the lounge floor, or on the,
yes.
you know, you would pick where you're going. You'd mark out the section you're going to start quilting with.
If I was going to mark it up, yes,
either
I'd do that first.
with pen or with masking tape, or however you're going to choose to do that. But working from your centre outwards.
Yes, and that way it just smooths out. It stops it from gathering or, you know, getting tucks in it. You're just working, smoothing your way across the quilt. So I'll start.
Okay.
And first really important thing is you need a walking foot on.
Okay, have we got one here?
I know it was here somewhere. Here it is. And
obviously this is to stop that fabric shifting to keep it feeding through really nice and evenly.
It feeds it evenly at the top and the bottom. This is not my usual machine, so...
So for someone that doesn't know what a walking foot is, how would you describe it?
It has... You have the feed dogs on this bit on your machine, and they, as the machine is stitching, these move and bring the fabric through.
Yeah.
And on your walking foot, you have this which mirrors it on the top, so it makes sure that the bottom is being fed through at the same speed as the top. So they're both going to go through perfectly evenly.
So it's just helping to pull that through at the same sort of speed and to stop it from here and here, isn't it? It's just going to evenly, not drag, but sort of make sure it's moving through without any contortion.
Yes, it does. It just feeds it through both top and bottom at the same time. And
that's why it's like a dog's like this teeth, isn't it, coming together to sort of to move it.
And whenever you
This is my jaw impression. That was the worst dog's mouth I've ever. It's like I don't know what that was all about.
It's a bit Venus flytrappy dog, isn't it?
It's like a little shop of horrors. So we're going to pop this one on.
I'll pop this on. And hopefully, let's see if I can get this right. But yes, if you're going to quilt, especially a full-size quilt like this, you really do have to use
the walking foot.
A walking foot. Right, how do I do this? I think this has to come off. I should have checked this, shouldn't I, beforehand? There we go.
That's it, we're just going to pop that on.
But anything you're sewing with several layers, a walking foot's really good to help everything go through evenly. Can you tell my machine doesn't have a walking foot? Like this one.
A different one.
It has a different one. There we go.
But this version here that you can see scaled down, so far we're at the point we've done a quilt sandwich. So Joe's got the backing fabric on the base here. Then we've got the batting or the wadding that's included in the kit. So that's all there. And then you've got your top, quilt top. This is the scaled down version, as Joe was saying. You're pinning so that everywhere you put your hand, you're going to touch pins. That's roughly the sort of distance, that hand test, to check that it's basted nice and sort of evenly and securely. And then from here, you're going to take all of this whole quilt sandwich, and this is where we start the fun, creative part of actually putting some design on there.
Yes. I'm just going to test a little section. I'm just going to fold this over just to make sure I've fitted the foot properly, because I don't want to start and realise it's not working. There we go, let's have a look at this. Yep, that's working nicely. So the centre of the quilt, and just take the pins out. Have a little pot or tub next to you to pop the pins in as you go. I think that's probably the centre.
Now, I imagine you're going to use quite a lot of thread to do this quilt. Would you get your bobbins and threads like ready? You need it all ready to go.
Yes, having some pre-wound bobbins is really helpful actually. So spend a bit of time, wind a few, have them there, so that because often you get into a bit of a groove and you don't want to stop and be delayed.
So you can just get into the flow of you don't have to do the actual mundane. I need to stop now and wind a bob, and wind up a bobbin.
Although at the same time, it's quite good to take regular breaks.
We have actually got a thread bundle as well that you can team with this, so the colourways, this has been sort of matched up so you can see the sort of coloured threads that we would use with this quilt. And we'll get that in a second so I can just show you the different ones that we've got. And then you just go for it.
Just go for it. I'm just doing a quick wavy line pattern. When I start, I will do a few really short stitches. I'm going to use the knot function on this. We'll trim it up anyway, so often you will go through some of the very edge stitches.
Those threads, I was talking, as if by magic, here they are. And these are the 5 threads that we would team with these Kaffe Facet fabrics. So you've got an orange, a pink, a bright yellow, a royal purple and a royal blue. These are from Gutermann. These have been put specifically in a complementary bundle today, so these colours coordinating really beautifully. If I just show you that fabric there with the different patterns that are in that Kaffe quilt kit. YJGC99, $8.95. You've got 500 metres of thread in that bundle. And those are from Gutermann, so nice, good quality threads.
Yes.
So we're going wavy lines. This was our first one.
So I've just done a wavy line, and because I've gone top to bottom, I've just done a few short stitches. Well, actually, I did the locking stitch to start at either end on this one, but I would do a couple of really short stitches just to secure the thread before I started. If I was starting in the centre, if I wanted to quilt this section first, I would bring the needle down and up again just once to bring the thread, the bobbin thread, up to the surface, and I would hold that for my first. You can either reverse over the first 2 stitches to secure them, or short stitches, or you can at the end do a quilter's knot and bury the thread to secure the ends of the thread. But bringing it to the surface just makes sure that it's neat on the back.
Okay.
Because sometimes the thread can get caught under the next couple of stitches and you end up with a bit of looped thread that you then have to undo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then from here you would just carry on working to one side?
I would, so I'll carry on. I'll do another line of stitches.
Now, you might have spotted on the table this morning as well, we've also got a Kaffe Facet book. This is his most recent book. He does quilts from, well, he's done them for so many different countries, you know, for Morocco, Sweden, lots of different ones. This is his latest book, which is Kaffe Facet Quilts in Ireland. Now, these are photographed really beautifully in Ireland, and he sort of finds locations that work and tie in with the quilts. The photography is absolutely stunning. You see these sort of locations that he picks out, and you can see where the inspiration comes from for his fabrics. But you just see the quilts in situ. That's the black version of the backing fabric we've got on this Kaffe quilt, actually. That's a darker version of it. But these are absolutely stunning, sort of, even as a coffee table book, just to flick through for some quilt inspiration. Lovely. Oh, look at that. Just so bold and vivid. There's that fabric. There's the backing fabric that we've got on that quilt today. But it is really, really beautiful. All of your instructions then are in the back of the book for actually sort of creating the quilt. Sorry, the light catching the pages there. But just really sort of lots of different block formations and bringing together the colours. And he talks... Oh, these are just stunning. He talks to you about, you know, using the light and dark fabrics, how to match those up. And this is his most recent one. If you've had any of Kaffe's other books and you're looking for some new ideas, lots of inspiration in here, as well as, you know, step-by-step photography and diagrams. Just giving you the layouts. But it is a lovely, if you want to add to your collection of Kaffe books, or perhaps you've never had one before and you want some quilt inspiration, like that huge quilt we've got in the studio this morning. Loads of beautiful ideas in here. Hugs and kisses, that's what we just did this morning. That's that block we just did with Joy. At 8 o'clock if you missed it, so you can there's a tutorial for that. You can go back and watch on YouTube. But this is the Quilts in Ireland. This is his most recent book, QERW 52. A stunning one with lots of ideas. And lovely to see that fabric that's in our quilt this morning. So, what are we doing, Jo?
So I'm just...
You're just doing it freehand.
Just meandering along. I do like a wavy line pattern.
Meandering, like like we're going down the river. Would you do the same pattern across the whole quilt, or would you be tempted to sort of do something in the middle and then do something different around the border, or...?
You could go anywhere with it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to have a plan before you start. But then not everybody does. It depends. It's the way that you work. Sometimes people like to be hit with inspiration halfway through and then change things up. There we go.
With this wadding that comes with it as well, is there a specific distance you need to leave, you know, the quilting distance, you don't want to leave it too far?
It will say, it should say, actually, how far apart the lines should be. I like quite dense quilting, so I've done my lines reasonably close together. I like to alternate it.
It's quite hard for you to see actually on your screens there, but you can see these quilted, like, sort of beautiful curvy lines that Jo's done through the top of the quilt. And then you would just carry this on all the way to one edge?
All the way along, and then turn it round and go across that way. If it's your first quilt, and you don't have a machine with a bigger harp, it's easier not to move, if you're doing straight lines where you don't have to move it round, because then you've got this roll of quilt here and it's pivoting. It can be. But if you are going to maybe do geometric sort of zigzags, pause with the needle down and pivot, lift the foot and pivot the quilt before you sew the next bit. Needle down function is brilliant and vital, really. I use mine all the time.
And like you said earlier, it is about supporting the weight of the quilt while you're doing it. You don't want to have this sort of hanging down by the side of your machine because the weight of it would pull a little bit.
And also, actually, you can find after you've been quilting for a while that your shoulders get quite sore. So do take regular breaks as well.
So shall we take a walk back over to the other side and take one last look at the big quilt?
Okay.
And we can show this how it would be if it was a matching cushion.
Yes.
So this is out. If you've not seen it yet this morning, look at this. Absolutely. I can't even reach. It was just like a huge, gorgeous piece of art. This is a scaled down version that Joe's on. You'd have enough fabric in this bundle if you wanted to make matching cushions like this. But what's lovely about this is you've got different fabrics, so you've got different textures, really lovely sort of soft ones, and you've got woven. That is a really soft panel, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this comes as fabric that you then cut into strips. You don't have to worry about doing blocks. The assembly is fairly straightforward. It's more about the actual quilting that you can see here. We've got a floral and a spiral that's been done on this quilt. But the actual assembly and the quilt top comes together fairly quickly, doesn't it?
But you don't have to quilt it yourself. There are long arm quilters you can send quilt tops out to, and they will quilt it for you. If it gets to it and you think, oh, I've done the top, I don't want to do that bit. I don't think I quite feel up to quilting it myself.
And the backing fabric as well is really lovely. This is extra wide backing, so you haven't got to piece it. It's all there ready to go. This is the one that's in that Caves Island book. We actually saw this exact fabric.
I like, when a quilt's on a bed, I like to fold the top bit back so you do get a flash
little
of the
peep
backing.
I almost feel like that's like showing off, like, both sides aren't the same, you know. This is slightly different on the back. But no, it's really lovely. And in the kit, you get all the fabric you need to make this. So you get metres and metres of fabric in all of these different patterns. You get your backing fabric, and you also get the wadding. So in this particular kit, you've got all of the wadding you need for the quilt itself. Lots of you taking advantage of this morning. I'm so pleased you're getting involved. We've got, we had this on the day that Kaffe was here, which I think says a lot about what we think of it. Do you want to rest your arm? Let's put this down.
It's so great.
It's sort of, the fact that we would have this on when Kaffe is here, speaks volumes. And this was the one on the 10th of August. If you missed that show with Kaffe, it's well worth going back and watching on YouTube. You can sort of see him talking about his creative process and how he puts colours together. But if you have managed to get one of these this morning, well done you, congratulations. Thank you for getting involved. Please do send us a picture. And thank you to Joe for our little mini version that we've done today and all of the quilting tips. And you're back as well, aren't you, in an hour?
I am.
Doing a back-to-school rucksack.
I am,
yes.
Indeed, yeah.
And Joy's just here. We're about to do, we've got a wadding lesson, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in 3 minutes.
Join us on Facebook. Simply search for The Sewing Quarter and like our page for the latest news and more. The Sewing Quarter website is simple and easy to use. You can view a live broadcast of the show on our homepage. Get instant access to our online shop, which has a wide range of wonderful products for you to choose from. You can also enjoy a selection of projects and guides which we have on offer to help you enhance your skills and gain valuable tips. Watch the live shows and you can buy the product which is currently being shown on air. You can even message the studio to ask our presenters or team any questions you might have. Below, you'll find all the products from today's show for you to look at and purchase. On the right of the screen, next to today's products, you will find our simple programme guide listing all upcoming shows. So, join us today at sewingquarter.com.
There are many different ways you can buy from us here at the Sewing Quarter. You can order from us by calling our free phone number at 0800 112 4433 and talk to the team at our UK-based call centre. Alternatively, there are other ways you can buy from us. You can go online and shop through our website at www.sewingquarter.com. You can even watch the show there and shop as you go. You can check out as many times as you like throughout the day and only pay a small fee of £2.95 postage and packaging for the whole day. We also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on all products excluding custom-cut fabric. Our friendly UK-based team will help guide you through every step. Sewing Quarter had a ball at the Festival of Quilts. Most importantly, we loved meeting all of you at the Sewing Quarter Cafe. Thanks to everyone who popped by to meet us, including those who joined us for a spot of English paper piecing, all for the great cause Project Linus. John Scott was even joined by Mandy Shaw on Sunday, and they laughed their way through a demonstration from Mandy's red and white Christmas book. If you didn't have a chance to drop by our stand or couldn't make it to the NEC, then we have a treat for you. We've filmed Mandy Shaw's live demonstration at Festival of Quilts, and you can watch the full video over on our website at www.sewingquarter.com. Simply click on the banner at the top of the page, sit back with a cuppa, and watch Mandy and John.
Good morning, welcome back. We have stepped into Joy's world of wadding. I feel like I've stepped into a wadding igloo. We have got wadding everywhere. And there are lots of questions about wadding, aren't there? And if you have got any questions, let me just start by saying that. Please do send them in. Any questions about batting and wadding, which is a debate about the name, I know, but the different materials and the uses for them, send them in this hour so we can talk to Joy and get the answer from the expert. Studio@sewingquarter.com, or on the website, you can do that in the message box. But in this hour, sort me out, Joy. What do we use all of these different types of waddings for?
Okie dokie. Well, I'm not sure I know all the answers, but we'll
we know some.
We'll
more than
do,
me. You know more than me.
We'll do what we can. Yeah, this is typically what happens when people walk into a quilt shop. They see all these waddings about, and like, OK, I just thought I was coming to get some wadding. Where do I start? So the first thing, batting and wadding. Batting is the American term, wadding is the English term. Same thing, same difference. That's the easy one. That's the easy one to do.
Same thing, just different names.
And people say, well, which is the best wadding to use? But unfortunately, there's no one answer to that. It comes down to preference, it comes down to what you're going to use it for, it comes down to what's available to you, because I'm lucky I live quite close to a quilt shop and I can get lots of different waddings, but not everybody does. So, you know, sometimes that will...
It depends. That's going to sort of shape your choice.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So when people say to me, what wadding should I use? I sort of start off by thinking through a few sort of things. First of all, you need to think about what size wadding do you need? And that's the easy one to answer, because you know what size your quilt is because you can measure it. Yeah. And all the packs of wadding all come with the size that one
Let's
is.
just sort of show an example of
just
one.
Grab one.
Let's just
anyone will do.
But they've got measurements on. So the first port of call to tick off in your head is what size do I need? Whether it's, you know, so you've got baby size, twin size, queen size, 3 metres, but also in turn they've got actual measurements on them. So you can really sort of see here in centimetres and inches exactly, you know, what size, you know the size of your quilt top, and what size batting or wadding you need. And also quite often the wadding will be slightly bigger than the quilt top, but like what Jo was just showing there.
Absolutely.
You'll need a little gap around the outside.
You need it a bit bigger. OK. A lot of the wadding comes from America, so a lot of the names that they're given, like, you know, queen size and king size, don't necessarily translate into English bed sizes. So having that inches and centimetres on there is much better to work by that.
So go by your measurements.
Yeah, don't just think, oh, I'm doing a single bed quilt, I'll buy a single bed, you know, pack of wadding. It might not be the same. So double check the measurements. That's the first thing, because then you know that right, whatever wadding I have, I need it to be this big. And of course, the price might come into it then, because some waddings are more expensive than others.
Absolutely.
So that might be a determining factor. Then, this is a strange one, because we need to think about colour of wadding.
Yes, and this morning, for the first time ever, I've never seen black wadding. I was like, what's this?
Here we have some.
It is.
So, yeah, I mean, actually, if we pull these three out, we can probably see very easily. I just want to show the colour first, yeah?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we've got white, the sort of the natural colour, and we've got black. OK, so very different. And people say, well, what does it matter? You know, and in some cases it might not matter. Black one, if you're using very dark fabrics, blacks, navy blues, dark maroons, anything with a really dark colouring, if you use a black one, if any of the fibres migrate through the fabric, because they do migrate through over time, you won't see them.
Oh,
whereas if you've put a
got
white, you're going to see those little bits of white fibres all come
almost
through.
You can see, like you get on clothes. I've got a big
there's a big bit.
But you get sort of little bits peeping through.
That's right.
Whereas if it's dark, you're much less likely to see that.
Much less likely to see it. So that's when you might want to use a black one.
Yeah.
This sort of natural creamy colour, that's what the majority of waddings are. That's what people think of as
wadding.
As wadding, OK? And you can use that for all sorts of, generally all sorts of colours, really. It doesn't really matter with that, as I say, as long as it's not the very, very dark. So that's a sort of more generic one. And then the white ones very often are polyester. Polyester's often the very white, whereas the natural colours are more
the natural colour actually looks more sort of natural. It does feel more natural, whereas this you associate more with maybe a man-made. It feels slightly less organic. I'm not talking about the feel in terms of the touch, but in terms of what it looks like, that to me is like, sheep, or it's very natural and it feels that way, it looks that way.
So if you're using very pale fabrics, if you're doing maybe baby quilts with a very, with the whites, very pale creams, very pale yellows and things like that, then a white is probably better, because if you get the cream underneath a white fabric, it can dull it down and make it look a bit dirty looking. Yeah. So that's when.
So nice crisp white, fresh. You want to stick to white.
So if you use an optical white, for instance, then you would go for a white.
We had one yesterday where the quilt top actually that Lucy was doing was white, and so that would be you would lean towards it, then you would go towards a white.
Yeah. So size and then colour. That's the starting point. So now at least you know when you go in that you're looking for a white wadding that's this size or whatever it is. Then you need to think about how much quilting you're actually going to do in terms of the top stitching. Each wadding has got a recommended distance that you can quilt apart or quilt up to. So it might say 8 inches apart, which means that you can quilt it closer if you want to, but you can't go beyond 8 inches because it doesn't hold it together well enough.
So like those curvy lines, so I was just doing on that quilt top there, if you wanted to do those more than 8 inches apart,
you need a
wadding that can take that.
Absolutely.
Because is that to do with the stability of the wadding underneath?
It's partly to do with stability and also partly to do with the way the fabric clings to the wadding. It just gaps and gets like really baggy and horrible.
Sort of puckers. And,
gets horrible looking otherwise. So, and different waddings, I say different ones. So some waddings you can only quilt up to 3 or 4 inches apart, and other ones you can go up to 10 inches apart. So if you're going to quilt this quilt in a hurry and you just want to get it put together because it's not a heirloom quilt, it's just a quick quilt for the kids to play on or something like that, then you'd just go for one that you only have to quilt, 8 or 10 inches apart. Job done. Job done. But if this is going to be, something like the Kaffe quilt that we've been looking at, and you want to get that beautiful quilting designs and stuff like that put on, then you might go for a wadding that you want to do 3 or 4 inches apart. The other thing with the distance of the quilting is if you get a soft polyester that says you can quilt up to 10 inches apart and you quilt it very closely every inch apart, not only is it going to take you 10 times as long, but it can make it become quite cardboardy, quite board-like. It makes it very stiff. So again, you choose the wadding according to that. So
thinking ahead, you actually need to, if you've got an idea of the design that you want to use on the, with your quilting, then that is going to impact which type you decide to go for.
Yeah, definitely. So then the next thing you've got to think about, there's so many things to think about. We haven't even got to the wadding yet. But if you do all this thinking process before you get to the point of buying
when you get to the point of deciding which one it is on the table that you think, we've got a massive collection of different waddings here this morning, but if you're thinking in your head, you can go through this checklist that Joy's doing. So you've got size, you've got, what colour you want, and then you've got measurements of quilting. Once you've started to tick those off and figure out your answers to those questions, then you'll know which wadding's going to work for you.
Yeah, it's going to narrow it it down for you as you go along. So the next thing we need to think about is the loft of the wadding, which is just another term for the thickness or the height of it. So this sample I've got here, for instance, has got a very high loft wadding on it, so it's quite thick. But then if I go to this one, you can see that this one's much flatter. So it depends what look you want the quilt to have. Sorry, are we okay there? Yeah. What look you want to have. That again will determine whether you want a high loft wadding or a low loft wadding.
So the actual wadding has a big impact on the finished look.
Yes.
And how that's going to, you know, how your finished design is going to come across. Because obviously with a higher loft, what's the difference? How would you describe the difference between the quilting effect with the different waddings?
This one gives you more of like a duvet feel, if you like. It's thicker, it's
squidgy,
and it's really squidgy up. This one is much flatter, more like the sort of thing you might use on a table as a tablecloth or something like that. So that's much finer. The warmth, though, can be as much in the thinner one as the thicker one, and sometimes the thinner ones are even warmer because of the way that they're made. So the warmth of it doesn't always correspond to the thickness.
To how thick it is.
To the thickness of it. Depends whether you're going to machine quilt or hand quilt as well. Because if you're going to hand quilt, this is perfect. This is hand quilted. It's tie quilted actually. Absolutely, perfect to get that puffy feel. If you can imagine this with lots of lines of very rigid stitching on it, it compresses it down, and you lose the benefit of having that.
What's the point?
Absolutely.
Well, why would you go for something really thick and spongy to then just squash it all
Absolutely.
every inch increments? That would be that would be silly.
Absolutely. This one's also hand quilted, but it doesn't change the loft or the feel of it. And this is quite closely
very close actually,
quilted together.
You can see here, but really close lines if you wanted to, a design like this. But this was hand quilted.
This one's hand quilted, but whether it's hand or machine, because this is a low loft one, it's already compressed, if you like. It's not going to change.
You can't do any squashing really by quilting.
No, not really. So the loft of it and obviously the use. I mean, you wouldn't put that on a table to start balancing your wine glass on or something.
No,
would you?
that would do it.
Yeah.
No, we don't want wine toppling over on freshly made placemats.
And again, with a quilt, it depends whether it's a quilt you're actually going to sleep under, or whether it's just one you want as a coverlet on the bed, to make it look pretty in the daytime, sort of thing. Because if you're going to sleep under it, that's going to affect the type of wadding you have, whether you have cotton or polyester or a mixture or bamboo or whatever. If it's something that's going to sit on the table or it's going to go in a bag or something like that, then it's a different, different consideration.
Yeah, so really. The use is another consideration.
Yeah, so the use can be another thing to think about there. And talking about sleeping under quilts or even just using them, or if you've got children and they're out in the garden with them and stuff, you need to think about how often they're going to be washed. If you've got a child and she's playing outside in the garden with it every day, you're going to be washing it every week or whatever. Or if it's a baby, you could be washing it every day,
So you need to think about that.
So again, if you need to look, and most of this information is on the wadding bundles when you get them, but you need to think about how often you're going to wash it. Cotton obviously will wash really well at high temperatures. If you're making charity quilts, some of the charity quilts I do go to neonatal units, and they have to be washed at 90 degrees before.
Which is obviously,
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the quilt's got to be quite robust. So 100% cotton fabrics, cotton in the wadding, and that's going to wash. Polyester will also wash easily and it will dry quickly. It doesn't quite have the same durability. So if this is just a quilt that you're going to use for a year or two and then it's done its job and gone, that's fine. But if it's a quilt you want to keep,
like Jo said, she's got them on every bed in the house and they'll stay there,
forever.
For children's quilts. They're heirloom pieces.
That's right.
Then you would steer more towards the cotton because it's...
Absolutely. Well, you would look at that or the bamboo or whatever, and you would, if it's on a bed and if it's a coverlet on a bed, you're probably only going to wash it maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
If you're not sleeping under it, you're not going to wash it that often. So So that can be
another factor.
Another factor.
Right, I hope you're writing
well.
a checklist this morning. Every
we should do that.
Yeah, we should. We should have a sewing quarter checklist of what you need when you're doing wadding.
Yeah, think.
Yeah, washability. So that's another one after we've done usage and obviously what you're going to use it for.
That's right. Okay. Then, so now we're on to thinking about, well, what is the wadding actually made out of?
Which is where these all come into play.
Where all these will come into play. Okay. So, what shall we start with? Let's start with...
What would you like to start with?
The heirloom cotton.
Right over here?
This one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Quite a weighty.
Yeah, it's got some density about it. It's... it's not 100% cotton, this one. It's badged up as cotton wadding, but it's actually 80% cotton and 20% polyester. Now, you can get 100% cotton waddings as well. This one's good, though, because it's got that little bit of polyester in it. It gives it that little bit more stability.
OK.
The 100% cotton ones can sometimes pull a bit when you're trying to lay them out. They can sort of get a bit distorted and pull out of shape. Because it's got a little bit of polyester in it, it will keep it much flatter. It's a bit like a felt consistency, if you like, but not as rigid.
So the combination of those two actually works in its favour.
Absolutely.
And so the first question on that list was sizes. What size quilt do I need? This one comes in 3 sizes. Yeah. So you've got the queen size, which is on your the graphic that's on your screen at the moment. But we have got this available in 2 other sizes that we'll run through. So you can just, if you're checking in terms of measurements, what size you want. The queen size one, this one here, is 90 inches by 108. But then we've also got 2 other size options which we'll run through in case you're looking for a different size.
Yeah. And it's worth saying, if you're not sure what size to get the bigger size, because all the pieces that you've got left can be used. And sometimes it's more cost effective to buy, say, a king size than 2 crib sizes, because you
cut them down.
Because you can get 4 quilts out of a king size.
Put it in your stash and keep it in there.
Well, and I've always got at least 3 waddings in my stash. I always have a cotton one, a polyester one, and I always keep a piece of black in, because I never quite know what I'm going to be doing next
and
or
using
whatever.
It for. And...
So I'm a bit of a wadding collector.
So the biggest cotton wadding is just coming up on your screen now. That's the one on the bottom, 35.95. What's the measurements on that one? 120 by 120 inches. So that's the
definitely king size.
Just over 3 metres there, the cotton one. And like Joy said, if you want to have that in your stash, you can then use offcuts for other projects, or you could get multiple quilts out of a 3 metre square. Well, it's bigger than the quilt we've got on the wall. So.
Oh yeah, I mean that's quite small compared to 120. Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first one then. On the back here, it's got lots of information. Why should you use cotton? Use and care and recommendation notes. So it's all the information you want there. So when you go in, don't just grab this, take the wrapper off and throw it away. Have a quick read through before you buy it, just to make sure it really is what you think it is and what you want to use it for.
And the cotton, what would be the main things you would use cotton for?
Definitely quilts. Definitely quilts that were going to be on the bed, because cotton is much more breathable. Also, if I'm doing children's quilts, particularly charity quilts, going to children who are having treatment for leukemia or chemo or something, or radiotherapy, because it can sometimes make their skin much more sensitive, and the cotton is less likely to irritate than the polyester.
Okay.
Now, not much of the wadding actually comes through the quilt, but if little fibres come through and somebody is sensitive to it, then
you won't get any irritation from those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it washes well as well. So
good old cotton. So this is what's lovely about that is it's going to be nice and warm in the winter, cool in the summer. It's breathable in that way, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's what we know and love cotton for.
It's what we call a dry heat as opposed to a wet heat.
And also, if you're quilting, if you are doing a quilt and you're working obviously with fabric that's 100% cotton, sometimes people like to keep that cotton, all the way through. So they're going to use 100% cotton for their thread, for their the wadding, and then also for the fabric itself. So 3 different sizes. I'll just show you. You've got the queen size one there, BIGQ 80. That's the queen size. Oh, king size. Sorry. No, the picture there is for the king size, which is the one on the bottom of your screen, OFGQ76. And the one on the graphic on the side of your screen is the one we've got here on the desk, which is the queen size. So that's cotton.
Yep, so that's your cotton one.
What one should we do next?
Oh, let's have a look. Let's do a polyester, I think, because these are the more common ones. So this one is 100% polyester.
Yeah.
And you can see straight away it's much whiter, as we were talking about earlier on.
Thicker as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit more spongy. It's not so much felt-like. It's a bit more spongy. So if you're looking for a slightly softer look, then you might want to go with the polyester. It's what we call the drapability factor with wadding is when it's quilted, how well will it drape and will it...
How's it going to hang?
How's it going to hang and come round? So we've got the 100% polyester, exactly what it says on there. Again, we've got some little bits of information here, machine washable, non-allergenic. You've got the sizes and that again.
So this is the queen size one that's on your screens at the moment. The one on the bottom of your screen is a crib size, so that's a much smaller version. But the HSGQ49 is this one, 229 centimetres by 274, or 90 by 108.
Yeah. So for me, using the polyester, I'd probably use it on smaller projects, you know, bags, table runners, coasters, anything like that. Yeah, things like that. Again, if you're going to hand quilt, because people do still hand quilt, you need to think about your wadding, because the 100% cotton is beautiful wadding, but it's quite hard to hand quilt through because it is so dense. A polyester is much easier to hand quilt. So again, that might make a difference.
Yes, so it's easier if you are using that technique as opposed to your machine, then you might lean towards a polyester.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There's also other sizes on the website. So the ones that you can see on your screen are the queen and the crib size. If there is a slightly different size that you're looking for, you can check those out on the website as well. We've got a whole shop of wadding. You can type that in on that search bar and you'll find all of these this morning. And obviously as well, looking at colour, this first one, the polyester, is the bright white.
It's
great if you're going for a lighter... If you've got lighter fabrics and lighter colourways. And also this is more affordable than a cotton.
It's a bit cheaper.
Isn't it? It is slightly cheaper. So
and if you're making something that isn't a heirloom and it's just a quick quilt, as I say, for children to play with or something for a few months, absolutely
does the job.
Yeah,
so this is the slightly more affordable option as well. HSGQ49 is for your queen size. Oh, we've got a question from Beth, so let's have a look. Morning, Beth.
Good morning.
Is it a good idea to take the wadding from packaging to take out the creases?
Yes, it can.
Before you use it?
Yeah, it can be. The polyesters don't tend to crease too badly. They come out quite quickly. Some of the cotton ones, when you take, it's a bit like fabric. When you open it out, you've got creases in it. And if you just take it out a day or so before you're going to use it, lay it over a spare bed so it's got a chance to breathe and relax out, that will help to get rid of a lot of the creases.
In terms of ironing, if someone said, oh, can I iron the wadding?
Yeah. My immediate answer is to say no, but I know it happens. If you're using 100% cotton wadding, then you're OK, because it's not good. Don't ever try ironing a poly. I've got a piece here, actually. I can show you.
Oh, this is the one I saw this morning.
Yeah.
This looks like it's been, run through one of those old-fashioned, that
like
you
a
crack.
mangle.
Yeah, that's the one.
So it starts off...
It starts like this.
Not quite as thick as that, but, spongy, like this. And then when it's ironed, it's like literally just... Flat, yeah. Yeah, you can just see the difference on there.
So we wouldn't put heat on that. So as Beth said, you're probably better to lay that out. You said the polyester doesn't really crease anyway.
Yeah, they all crease a bit because they've been shoved in these bags. But if you open them out, then they will...
Give it some time to breathe on the bed for a day or two, and then...
Yeah.
Once it's chilled and relaxed, then you can get going.
If it's really bad and you can't get the creases out and you've got a big enough tumble dryer for the piece that you're using, if you tumble dry it for a few minutes, that again, and then take it out and lay it out, that again will help to get rid of creases as well.
Top tip, I like that one.
Yep. OK, so preferably no ironing. So if we stick with the polyester, but we go over to...
Dark.
Oh, no, this isn't a polyester. This is actually an 80-20 again.
Oh, so same as this
one. So even better.
Here.
So same as that one, but it's black. Again, it's got all the information on the back, exactly the same, same company and everything. So it's just as good. but it is in the black.
So this is the 80% cotton, 20% polyester. That little mix there being really beneficial, but you've got the breathability of the cotton.
Yeah. Now, with both of these, because they've got cotton in, they can shrink a little bit because people get very worried about what you shrinking.
I like the effect of, you know, when it shrinks and you get
just get that wobbly bit. Yeah.
I really like that as a look, but some people don't. So
no, and you're more likely to get that with the wool waddings. The cotton and the polyester one won't shrink. It's just as it is. This one, on both of these, the shrinkage is about 5%. Now, if you think you're doing a big single quilt, 5% of that it's quite minimal, really. People again often ask about, should I wash wadding before I use it to shrink it and all the rest of it. I've never washed a wadding in my life. Partly because I'm too lazy. But no. But wool wadding is the one where you're going to get the most shrinkage. So if that's an issue for you, then you do need to gently wash up. But you have to be very careful because ideally you need to hand wash it.
Yeah.
And you need to dry it flat.
So you need quite a lot of space if it's a king size.
Absolutely, yeah, because if you hang it up, it'll all start to pull, the weight will pull down and stuff. So, you know, and I say if you've got a king size piece of wadding, you've got to have a pretty big tumble dryer
to squish it in.
So I've never, I can honestly say I've never, well, I've only done little test pieces just to prove what happens, but I've never washed a whole piece. Like you, I quite like that antique look.
I like it. I think it gives it that sort of, it gives it a homemade feel as well.
Absolutely.
You know, this has been made by hand. It gives it that, it is slightly sort of that sort of old, oldie sort of feel to it.
Yeah,
but as well, the lovely thing about the 80-20 cottons is you can use them for the hand quilting if you want to as well.
Again, because it's 80% cotton, you might find it a bit hard
to go through. You'd lean towards polyester.
I'd still go towards the polyester, yeah.
OK. So this is the black option there you can see on your screens. Again, this is the 2.3 metres by 2.7 metres, £28.95, YBGQ56. If you're going for a navy or a darker fabrics, Joy was saying at the beginning of the show, if you missed it, then the fibres that come through, those little sort of, what do you call it?
Bearding. We call it bearding.
Like this. Yeah. If you get any bearding coming through, which hopefully
little bits of stubble.
Yeah, if you've got any stubble on your quilt.
Yeah, tell the cameraman to go away quick.
If you've got a dark quilt, then you want to lean towards one of these so you don't get any sort of, you've got, you're not going to see those little bits of fluff.
OK.
OK.
So we've got that one. So we've been talking about wool. So should we do the wool one next?
Yeah, I'm interested about in wool.
Let's have a look at wool then. This again is 100% wool on this one, okay, and it's also washable. I think it's 100% wool. I just want to double check that.
This is queen size. This one.
Yeah, this is queen size again. So what it's saying about this one is that it's got really good insulation, so it's a really warm feel to it. Now this is interesting because I can never remember this term. I have to look it up. It's hygroscopic.
Hygroscopic.
Which basically means it can absorb up to 30% of its own weight in dampness before it feels wet.
Oh, wow.
So
if you're going to maybe use a quilt outside, or,
or anywhere where it's humid or anything like that, absolutely.
If you're having eating outdoors or something like that, but you do get the warmth from wool. As you'd expect with a jumper or with anything like that. It gives you, but without the weight.
So a real winter quilt sort of feel to it. Again, it's got all the information on the back, and this one it's saying you definitely need to dry it flat, or it's recommended that you dry it flat. So again, if I just turn that around, if you're using this for a quilt that needs to be washed frequently, then I wouldn't use wool.
No, so this is one that's if it's going to lay on the bed on the end of the bed and sort of be there.
Yeah, just be there nicely.
You're not laying it, you're not putting it on you every single night, and it's just going to be for decoration. Because also you don't get the weight as much with wool, do you? It's nice. It's quite lightweight and to just sort of to hang and drape there.
Absolutely. And again, it tends to be a bit more expensive, so I wouldn't use it on, like a little bag I'm going to throw in the supermarket every day of the week or stuff like that. I would use wool for something special.
Okay.
That's the way I would.
We have some bags. Look at all of this collection of bags we've got behind us. These are all quilted bags that we've done. Like Joy was saying, you can use wadding not just for quilts but for other projects as well. And we've got, and it just makes them really. I'll just show you some of these. It makes them really comfortable, and the different waddings giving you really different feel. It's lovely in the handles. I do quite like it.
Yeah, because it makes it nice and soft and easy to hold.
But also, if you quilt it, then you get that rigidity as well.
Yeah.
But you can just see here with these different quilted bags, giving you that sort of extra softness, and perfect for... If I can do that one.
Yep.
Oh, I love this one. But perfect for laptop or tablet cases when you want to protect something, give it that sort of cushioning.
Yep.
This was one we made on the show, you can see here with the quilting, but just giving you that sort of... Obviously, for a laptop, if that was in there, it's going from a protective point of view.
And you can use more than one layer of wadding, of course. So if you're using a layer and you don't think it's going to give you enough rigidity or enough protection,
double it up.
Then just double it up,
That's a good idea. You can see here with obviously those quilting. This was one of the other things Joy was saying about obviously thinking about how far apart you're going to put your quilting lines. With this one, the lines are really sort of close together. So then what would you choose if you're going for?
I mean, I would probably use a polyester in here. Which, if you quilt it too close, it can go too rigid. But if you're doing a bag, you actually want it to be a bit more sturdy. Yeah. So I would deliberately choose one that wasn't necessary to quilt this close, but then quilt it closer because it will.
Because it's going to give it then that...
So use the properties that are there and to your best advantage.
So you're exactly that. Picking the one that works for what you're going to use it for.
Absolutely.
So you need to know, in terms of what's the finished aim of my project, really. What am I hoping to use this for?
Yeah, and if you want a bag like this one, it sort of almost stands up on its own almost. So, that's where you want a nice, thick, stable wadding in there.
Well, like this one is a softer. This has a much sort of softer feel to this.
Yeah.
And this is an example where you've got the black.
Yeah.
If the outside of this bag was black as well, then maybe you'd lean towards the 80-20 cotton polyester black wadding. Yeah. But lots of different options.
Yeah.
So we got up to wool. We did wool.
Right, yes, we've done the black, we've done the wool. Bamboo. I think it's a small pack.
Oh, bamboo, yeah.
She's off. I think this is a bamboo one. Let's have a look.
I think...
Is it that one?
Yeah, bamboo mix.
There we go. So this is bamboo. Now...
In 2 different sizes.
Brilliant. Bamboo's only sort of come into its own fairly recent. I mean, I'm talking the last sort of 10, 15 years or so by recently. Because bamboo is much more environmentally friendly because it's a sustainable harvest. It grows really quickly, unlike cotton, which is obviously dependent on the weather and all the rest of it. But it's naturally antibacterial as well, which can be important to people. But it works and it feels very much in the same way that a cotton one does. If anything, it's slightly softer.
I think the bamboo has quite a silky feel to it almost. It's quite sort of... it's very smooth.
It is. And, of course, we're used to things like bamboo socks.
Yes.
You can buy now and things like that. So it's becoming, much more a fibre of choice.
At the forefront of fibre that people... And like you say, that if that sustainability is important to you, then from that perspective, bamboo is a good choice.
And, of course, the price reflects that as well.
Yeah.
So that's good. And, again, it comes in a whole range of sizes. It's a traditional sort of creamy colour. Now, you see, I thought bamboo was green leaves and stuff.
So pandas.
Yeah. So I don't know how they get it to be like this. But
how do we make it green?
How do we make bamboo into cream? I have no idea. But it's very clever. Very clever.
But we've got 3 different sizes for this. There's only 2 obviously on your screen at the moment because we can only do 2 at a time. But the queen one, which I believe is this. This is this size here. Yep. So what was that one? 228 by 300. Is the queen metre, and there are 2 queen sizes. That's what they're, and then there's the queen size on the bottom, which is slightly smaller, and that's 38.95. So it just depends, on the size. If you know the size of your finished quilt, if you're not going to cut it up and use it for lots of different projects. But 90 by 108 inches is the one on the bottom, and the one on the side is obviously slightly bigger, which is the queen metre one.
And this is one that can be quilted up to 10 inches apart.
So if you're going for those distant lines, which I don't know if we've got any bags like that actually, but this is you've got a cot size one there too. But if you are going for up to 10 inches, which is obviously fairly,
it is quite chunky.
If you want to do wider lines,
if you're doing sort of 9-inch blocks for a cot quilt, you've probably only got, sort of 6 or 9 blocks, and you could just literally do in the ditch around the blocks, and it'll be stable enough to hold it. Yeah.
You don't need to be going in and sort of filling in all those little gaps in between.
No.
So those are our bamboo options.
Yes.
What else have we not done?
We haven't done this
white.
one. Yeah, warm and white and
warm and natural.
So let's have these
Let's do that one first, don't you?
Yeah, I don't mind. Okay.
We're surrounded. We're surrounded. I feel like we should have worn dressing gowns for this.
But they'll have to dig us out, won't they, by the end of the day.
So we've got queen size, warm and white. Should we do this one first of all?
Okay, if you want to do that one first. Now, this one's interesting because, again, it's a wadding that we use inside our quilts. But this one you can also use for applique. Particularly at Chris, like doing snowmen or angels or something like that. So you can use it...
as an external fabric.
As external, in the same way as you would a felt or something like that. So this one's good. So any offcuts left over from this one, you can definitely keep, and you can use it on the outside. Again, this one says that you don't need to pre-wash it. Some waddings will actually say recommended to wash. Some will say no need to pre-wash. This is one that says you definitely don't need to pre-wash it. It's very white.
Yes.
So perfect for all our...
warm and white.
Yeah. Perfect.
And so I'm imagining it's also warm.
One would hope so.
One would hope so.
One would.
This one's available in 5 sizes as well. So, depending on what size you like, we're just running those graphics through now so you can see the different size options. But they are all on the website as well. So if you get confused with measurements, you can check them that way.
And this one again, you can quilt up to 10 inches apart.
So the same as the bamboo.
Same as the bamboo. Yeah. Okay. So that's the warm and white. This is the warm and natural, which by its title, it's a natural one, different colour again. And I was just trying to check whether this one... Now, this one says that there will be a 3% shrinkage.
That's very minimal.
It's very tiny. Yeah. It's very tiny. And if you want to pre-wash it, you hand wash it, you soak it for 20 minutes, squeeze out the water, do not wring, roll it in a towel to dry, and then dry in a warm dry or lay flat to air dry. So it's quite a bit of...
It's quite I can see why you admitted to having never washed wadding before. If you don't need to.
If it can't go in the washing machine, it doesn't come in the house. No. As simple as that, really. And this one's 100% cotton.
So there are 5 sizes available in this one. This one's 100% cotton. But what's the difference then between warm and white and warm and natural? Is it literally the colour?
Let me just check. This one's 100% cotton. I'm not sure if that one is. Let me see if I can... Because there's so many, you can't remember all of them. Can we see where it tells you? Yeah, bleach. It's just bleached cotton. So that's natural cotton. This has been bleached to make it go white.
Oh, so that's the difference. But they are both cotton, 100%. So is that colour option, again, as we were talking about earlier with the mixes, depending on what colour you want.
Yeah.
And obviously these are different sizes, but you've got 5 different size options in the warm and white and in the warm and natural. So there's twin size, there's crib sizes, there's queen size, king size. So lots of different measurements depending on what you're going to be using this for. But this ranges from $9.95 up to how much? $14.95. So just depending on how much you need. And you were saying, it's the sort of thing where if you've got offcuts, you just keep them in your stash and there'll be projects where you always need a wadding.
And I'll show you what you can do with your offcuts.
Show me.
To join them together.
Let's see.
OK, let's put that there.
I like lovely little makeup and toiletry bags with wadding in. I think they look nice with a wadding in.
Perfect. So let's... I've got some here.
So if we want to, we've got offcuts of wadding.
We've got offcuts of wadding. We can buy this tape, which I think we've got some in the trolley over the back there somewhere.
Heat press, 2 sizes of this. So this is about joining wadding together.
Yeah. 2 sizes, basically 1 inch and 2 inch wide strips. When you've got your wadding, you can literally just butt your pieces up together like this, and then this is fusible on one side. It's like a bit like a fusible interfacing, if you like, but in strip form. And you can place it on the top, and then you just gently iron it. Now, we've spoken about ironing and polyester and stuff like that. You can do it, but you do it on a low heat setting
Yeah.
Yeah. And make sure you don't actually press down or anything. All you want is enough heat to melt the glue.
To adhere those two
and to
together.
Stick it together. Some people just do it one side, some people like to do it both sides just for stability. It's completely down to you. For me, though, if you've got this line that's been joined, that's likely to give you an artificial fold in your quilt. So when I'm joining, what I do is, I've got a little piece here, I would actually lay them on top of each other and then just cut a gentle curve and then join it together with my tape.
Ah, so rather than it being a straight line, because then, if it's two straight cuts, you're ending up with, you're just sort of emphasising that by then putting a straight tape over it.
Yeah, and you'll find that your quilt will always...
It's going to bend naturally in that place, whereas if you've curved it...
It helps to
it's
stop that.
Yeah.
And again, whichever size you want to use...
You've got that thicker one here as well.
Some people like... If you're going to do a bigger curve, then the wider one would be better.
Just as a size comparison, if you wanted to see those two different options. So you literally iron that into place and it sticks it together.
Just fuse it into place and then job done.
So it's great if you are doing a massive quilt and you take all of the edges off. You know, if you... Like the cave quilt we were just doing, Jo was saying she'd probably have 3 or 4 inches around the outside, at least, you know, for a big quilt. If you then cut all of that off, you've got loads left over. If you bought the bundle even this morning, you'll probably have some left over. You can use that tape to attach it and use it.
And again, I've always got a roll of that in the house because I never know, because I never quite know which way the mood's going to take me and what I'm going to make next.
You want it to hand.
Then I'm not one of these people that thinks, right, I'll go to the shop and buy everything that I need for a project. I just sort of get up at 5 o'clock and think, all right, I'm going to have a fiddle, you know. And then I end up making something. And then I'm hunting around for a piece of wadding the right size or a piece of backing the right size. And, I'm a bit impatient, so
I want it there.
I want it there and then.
I'm like that with cooking. I like to have all the ingredients need to be there. I like to have all that stuff to hand. I don't want to have to go and buy every single thing on the list. It's nice to have them already there to go.
Definitely not.
So there's 2 different sizes, and this is the heat press sort of tape. It's for attaching your wadding pieces. They're in 2 different sizes there. The bigger one on your screen at the moment, RXEQ71, is this 4 centimetre wide. If you want the 2 centimetre wide, EPEQ63 for the batting tape. And also this is recommended for Quilt As You Go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we've had a question about Quilt As You Go, actually. Who was that one from? Is it on the screen? Oh, we've got it. From Audrey. Morning, Audrey. What wadding to use with Quilt As You Go? Want to do piecing with alternative squares. So Quilt As You Go, actually, for people that don't know, is one like this. We've got a couple this morning. There are more on the website, but I think I've just got one here, actually.
No, I've got another one somewhere.
I've got so many.
Yeah, I've got one.
Here we go.
Now, these are pre-printed.
These
are pre-printed Quilt As You Goes. So we'll talk about these, and then I'll talk about Quilt As You Go where you're not using pre-printed wadding.
OK. So the pre-printed ones are where you put the fabric straight on. You can see your lines already printed onto here. So you quite literally quilt as you go. You put your fabric on and you stitch on these lines. It's a really quick... We've done loads of shows on Quilt As You Go if you want to go back and watch them on YouTube. But there are 2 different options here this morning with different block formations. So this one is sophisticated strips. Lucy Brennan's done this quilt for us. We've had it on the show a couple of times. You can see here with these nice sections, it's a lovely way to showcase big panels of fabric. 40 inches by 50 inches is the finished size of this quilt. And this is an 80-20 mix, so 80% cotton, 20% polyester, like we've had on the show this morning, but with the pre-printed lines on there. But then this one is a different blend. This one, is this 100% polyester?
I think it is. Let me just... it is.
100% polyester.
Yeah.
And this one is your fair and square, so it's a different block formation. You can see here with your 6 blocks. We might have a finished one of that.
We have. We've got... this is the fair... This is one of the shows
I
did.
Oh, did you do this one?
Yeah, I did this show. So, so we've got the fair and square.
So this would be the finished, and you just quilt straight onto these lines, don't you?
Yeah, you just go straight through line. You don't stitch on the lines, you line it up to the lines, and then you do your 1/4 inch seam with these ones.
You use those to work for the fabric placement.
That's right, yeah. And then you stitch all the way through all the layers, and then you join it with the joining strips afterwards.
And also recommended with Quilt As You Go is they use this Best Press starch spray.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've actually got this new bigger one in. We've only just got this in this week. So if you do use Best Press and you're getting through it nice and quickly, then this is, you know, a slightly bigger option, and you know, in that way it's good value as well. But this spray here is the Fresh Linen one. This is my favourite scent. They also have lavender and a scent-free version on the website. But this one here is like lovely, clean laundry, linen fresh, and it's a starch spray, so you can pop that on. It's great for dressmaking as well, with cuffs and collars. But this is 479 mils. I think there's a typo on the graphic there, so it's just 20 mils less than it says on that. But it's, you know, Quilt As You Go recommend doing this to give you that nice... Why do you use that for Quilt As You Go?
Particularly when you're doing this method, because you can't press your seams open at every stage because you're going straight through the wadding, particularly if you've got the polyester one, which this one is.
Which is a no iron zone.
Which is absolutely. So if you've got the starch on there, when you fold it over, you can finger press it really... It'll finger press really nicely because you've got that extra body from the Best Press.
So it gives you just that lovely sort of clean, crisp finish.
Yes, yes.
That's the Fresh Linen one, FSEQ20. This lovely, nice, bigger version of the spray there. It's obviously like an easy pump spray. And it's great. It's a nice clear bottle, so you can see exactly how much you've got left. If you're getting through it quickly, you know when you need to reorder, as opposed to an aerosol can. So really great value, actually. It works out much better value in that bigger one, $9.95. So we were talking about Quilt As You Go. We had the sophisticated strips and the fair and square.
Okay.
If you're piecing,
well, some
question.
Yeah, the question, because I'm not sure whether she's talking about this or normal Quilt As You Go, as I call it. Sometimes people will make a quilt block and then layer it with the wadding and the backing and quilt it as a block and then join those blocks together. So they're not using the pre-printed wadding.
Oh, okay.
They're making their own blocks up and then just doing the layering and the quilting. And for that, really, again, you could use pretty much any wadding. I tend to like an 80-20 mix because I think that works really well. But again, you could use anything.
It depends. So that was for Audrey. I hope that helps. We had some other questions in as well. Let's have a look if we've got any.
Shall I tidy up again?
Yeah, it's getting a bit manic, isn't it? I haven't got it on the iPad at the moment, but we'll... Let's have a look. We'll get that through.
First, I'll put that one over there somewhere.
But in terms of the joining, that was actually as well, Audrey was asking how you would join those together. Could you use this to attach?
No, if you're doing Quilt As You Go, sort of yes and no, really. When you're doing Quilt As You Go, you need to have these joining strips that join them together. But inside there, obviously, you've got where the two layers of wadding meet up. So yes, I would use that. I would use that before I put the
to match them up.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So another question here from Cheryl. Good morning, Cheryl. How do I stop fluff from wadding sticking in cuts on the cutting mat?
Ah, right.
Do you have an answer for that one?
Yes.
I'm impressed. That's a tough question.
The number of times I've had to scrape bits out of my cutting mat. I use the reverse of my cutting mat. So I use one side for cutting wadding and one side for cutting fabrics. Depending what wadding you're using, some are really awful for getting stuck, because although they're self-healing mats, they heal themselves that quickly that you can't get the fibres off. But if you get a rough bathroom sponge and rub that all over it, it'll pick most of them out for you.
So like the one you might use to clean a barbecue, those sort of rough... do you know the ones I mean? Those sponges. I've forgotten what they're called.
They've got the... Just a normal rough... A normal bath sponge, but not a nice, soft, luxurious one, just a really cheap one. So it's got rough bits, like rough foam, like lots of holes and stuff in it.
Yes, to pick up the...
Yeah, and that will get a lot of it off.
Lovely.
So I hope that's helpful.
Got another question.
They're all woke up now.
How do you... this is from Helen in Devon. Morning, Helen. How do you protect quilts from moths? Great show, ladies. Thank you. Thanks, Helen.
That's a tough one, because it's how do you protect anything from moths, clothes or anything like that. If they're just being stored... so you're just going to put them in a cupboard and just leave them for a while. Then you can get acid-free tissue paper to wrap them in, which also helps to stop the folds. And so they're covered away. Or, you know, you can get these plastic bags that you suck all the air out of. You could do something like that. other than that, you know, it's
life. Such is life. If you've got
mothballs or moth spray and stuff.
It closed as well. It's so frustrating.
No.
I've got another question from Jennifer in Derbyshire. Morning. Does Joy know what wadding, if any, the quilters of the 1700s used in their quilts? Any ideas?
Well, that is an interesting one, actually, because I'm actually doing a course based on the 1718 coverlet, which is the oldest dated British patchwork. And the key is it was a coverlet, which meant there was no wadding in it. And that was made in 1718. So that's pretty close.
About right. So actually they just had front and back.
I think that, I'm sure they would have used wadding and stuff like that, but I'm guessing, I mean, if you look at some of the really old quilts, they're very often got like a flannelette sheet or something like that inside them rather than a wadding. Do you know what I mean?
Also, the artificial ones, they would never have had anything like that. It would have had to be natural in some way.
Yeah, and the chances are it would have been, I say, old sheets or pillowcases or anything that they could just cut up, because they were made as utilitarian pieces for just to put on the bed because they got nothing else. So old flannelette petticoats was another one I've seen used as well.
Just maximising everything you've got.
Anything that you've got, yes.
One more question from, let's have a look. Do you use best pressed on the sophisticated strips quilt as you go? And that's from Kate. Yes, you do.
Definitely.
So that was this one here.
Yeah.
So just doing that, like you said,
it will actually tell you
pressing.
that. Yeah, it will actually tell you that in the instructions as well, or it should do.
They actually recommend these specific best press sprays, the quilt as you go. Yeah. We've got another question. Everyone's gone crazy this morning. This is great. I love it. Phew. It's like question time with you.
Fabulous.
You feel like you're being bombarded. This is from Poplin. Morning, Poplin. I bought Quilt as you go pack with poly wadding. Yeah. Could I mix it with another pack in the cotton mix wadding? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because they do feel different.
They do. Of course you can, because we've just been talking about utilitarian and using what you've got. So you can. There will be a slight difference in the feel of them and the way that they react. But it depends how you're going to do it, because if you're going to make the blocks and set them alternately, then you're spreading out that difference across the quilt. It's almost like
purposeful. You've chosen to do it that way.
Whereas if you're doing like 2/3 of it in one and then the last third in another, that would probably be a lot more obvious.
I think as well it would be obvious because of the loft of those waddings.
It could be,
because they do vary a little bit. If we look at those two quilt as you go, wadding side by side, they are slightly different. Yeah. So if you purposely alternated them like Joy just suggested, that might work. It might work well, but it just
other option is if you've got the poly one, buy another poly one to go with it.
Yeah, just collect them up. Lots of people do multi-buy quilt as you go because you can.
That's right, to make the bigger ones. Yeah. Definitely.
One last question from...
You said that 3 questions ago.
Sonia, from Alson. I know, I said that. We've got lots of people asking questions
That's
now.
Fine.
So, I haven't got that one on the iPad, but I don't know if we've got...
It'll come up.
Let's have a look. Oh, could you explain again the difference between sewing with different sort of distances between the inches on the waddings and which ones are for what?
Okay.
Just sort of a quick recap, if we can. Morning, Sonia. What's the purpose, she wants to know, of the different distances?
Okay. Partly it's down to the look that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And if you want a very densely quilted quilt, if you go for something that's too lofty, it will compress it down flat, so it becomes very cardboardy. Let's see if we've got one here. So this is a polyester one. Okay. So you can see it's already quite thin. Yeah. So with that one, you can quilt it really closely together. I mean, we've got 2 very close lines of stitching there. Okay. But if you've got something like this really thick stuff and you start stitching that down, it will actually flatten it to come like that. But the difference is this isn't made to be flattened and pressed down.
No.
So it goes very stiff and it won't drape very nicely. It won't sort of drape round you very nicely. Whereas this one is still nice and drapeable.
And it's made to be more like that.
And it's made to be like that. There is one thing I want to say to people. When you're choosing wadding, And you did it earlier on, actually. You said, I want to feel what that bamboo's like.
You sort of do want to just,
and you want to feel them, and you can feel all of it. I can't touch that one because that's all... That one sets my teeth on edge. So
Does it?
Yeah, I can't touch it. You can touch that one.
I like it, although it does make my nose feel a bit... I feel like there's all bits in the air.
No, I can't do with wool.
You can tell why that's the warm, the really warm
absolutely.
option.
But and this is what people do. Oh, yeah, that's a polyester and all the rest of it. But actually, that isn't the best way to choose your wadding. What you need to do is to get a piece of fabric and fold it around it and feel it through the fabric.
These.
Because once it's inside the fabric, it'll feel different. And once you've quilted it, it'll feel a bit different again. So there's your bamboo one that you liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then when you feel it inside, a lot of the time, if you get a quilt, if we were looking for some earlier on, you get a quilt out and you say, what wadding's in there? It can be quite hard to tell.
To decipher which
you might be able to
is.
tell whether it's polyester or whether it's cotton or something else, but you can't always tell the difference between them. So always get a piece of fabric, fold it round, and see if that is going to give you the feel that you want.
So Teresa wants to know how much fabric for the fair and square quilt as you go, which is this one. I'll just check that for you.
Yeah.
Fabric requirements.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in yards, which I know is quite American, isn't it? Let's see. In yards, it is.
So it's half a yard, a quarter of a yard, a yard,
so
and a yard and a half.
Yeah. 3 3/4.
Yeah.
3 3/4 yards
altogether.
So we might have to just put that into a search engine to get it in.
Well, I would just read that. I would just read that as metres because a metre is going to be slightly more.
Just slightly
so
more.
Instead of buying half a yard, just buy half a metre.
Okay, so 3 3/4, so probably 4 metres. And then we also had one other question, which was about for a baby quilt. Margaret wanted to make a baby quilt.
Okay.
Which wadding would you lean towards? Cotton?
I would either go cotton or 100% polyester.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So two options there.
Yeah.
Depending on price, really. 2 different
Partly
price
on
points.
price and what's going to happen. I mean, if it's for, as I said, if it's for a child who's got specific health issues, I would always go cotton. If it's just a general one, I would go polyester. But there's lots of guidelines on the website about what you should and shouldn't do for babies with quilts and stuff. Generally, particularly for small babies, you would only lie them on the top of the quilt, not put the quilt over them, because then they don't
It's not going to be wrapped over them.
Yeah, and they're not going to get caught up in it.
Lovely. Well, let's just have a quick look at the website, because I know we've absolutely bamboozled everybody with lots of different waddings this morning. So I'm going to just show you there on the shopping basket of all the different sizes and waddings that we've got. So if you go to sewingquarter.com, if you head to the website and you go to the shop page, and then if you go to wadding and batting, so it's got its whole own section there, then every single one you can see there, including all of the different sizes, including all of those different quilts as you go. So some of the other one, Paris on Point, London Labyrinth, all different quilts as you go. So you've got your heat press tape to join the waddings together. You've got your bamboos, your cottons, your polyesters, your wools. I mean, look, there are loads of different sizes there. But if you want to look at any of those you've seen on the show today and you've not managed to quickly grab the graphic number while Joy's been here, you can do that on the website and check it out in your basket that way. And you're back in tomorrow, so thank you so much,
Yes,
Joy.
I'm coming back tomorrow.
And I'm back in the morning too. So we're not
Great.
doing wadding, but we're doing something else. So
yes,
great.
We're doing quilting.
Quilting. Well, I hope you have a lovely Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and you too.
We'll see you in the morning.
Will do.
We'll see you in 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Bye-bye, people.
Follow us on Twitter for more inspiration, top tips, news, and share your own creations with us.
For this tutorial, we're going to be doing something called a tacking stitch. Now, it's very, very similar. In fact, it's the same as a running stitch, but this time it's going to be a lot bigger, so you can remove the stitches later because it's a temporary stitch. At the back, we're going to go through the front. So if I go through the fabric first, so this time you can see that I'm making these stitches a lot bigger because this is just a temporary stitch that I want to be able to remove a lot easier. If I just do another couple of stitches for you. So what you'll be able to do when you get at home and you want to remove the stitches, you should just be able to pull those out nice and easily.
Don't forget, shopping with us is easy and simple. You can just contact us at 0800 112 4433 and speak to our UK-based call centre to place an order, or shop online with us at www.sewingquarter.com.
Britain's favourite sewing show is coming to London and we'll be there with bells on. The Great British Sewing Bee Live is taking place over 4 days from the 21st to the 24th of September at XL London. If you're a hobbyist dressmaker who's been inspired by what you've seen on the Sewing Bee, a seasoned professional looking for new ideas, or just fancy taking dressmaking up for the first time, this is the event for you. We are proudly sponsoring the Demo Theatre with live performances from designer, author and former Sewing Bee contestant Jennifer Taylor throughout the weekend. And with our discount code SQD, you'll get £1.50 off your ticket. So what are you waiting for? Grab your tickets now and join the buzz at the Great British Sewing Bee Live this September.
Join John Scott and Tilly Rose on Friday the 1st of September for an extra special Tilda Harvest Day. From pumpkin oranges, dazzling blues and delicate floral patterns, this brand new collection from fabric designer Tilda is perfect to brighten up the autumnal nights. At 8 a.m, Tilly will be showing us her patchwork techniques, creating a patchwork cushion out of brand new Tilda Fat Quarter bundles. Tilly will be back on screen at 10 a.m. showing us how to turn these gorgeous new fabrics into a fabulous travel notebook cover, perfect for personalising those plain notebooks. Join John at 9 and 11 a.m. to see the full Tilda range showcased in all its glory. So make sure you don't miss out on the incredible new Tilda Harvest collection on September the 1st, 8 a.m. to midday, only on Sewing Quarter, Freeview Channel 78.
Good morning, welcome back to our final hour here at Sewing Quarter today. I'm joined by Jo Carter in this hour and we're back to school, so I hope those back to school blues aren't kicking in just yet because I know September is just around the corner. But if you are starting to think about the children or grandchildren heading back to school, we've got a lovely little rucksack for them to take on the go with them. Lovely to take to school, and we've got them in different size options this morning. So we've actually for this, and there are a pattern within this pack for the rucksack, just with slightly different variations in terms of pockets and the actual setup for the rucksack itself. So you can see here the different designs, and we've got them here on the table so I can show you those too. But in this pattern, you've just on the back got the 3 different and obviously all of the info on what fabric you need. Now, you might have spotted I've got a table covered in fabric bundle options, so we've got 6 options for this rucksack this morning. Let me just, any excuse to put a bag on, but this is really lovely because it's a nice long strap, so it fits comfortably on your... You can just, it's a really nice comfy rucksack for, you know, if children want to pop their pencil cases or books in to take to school. Then you've got the option there to do that with also the pocket detail on the inside. So the musical notes bundle is the first one. This is what the rucksack looks like made up. The fabrics work really lovely, really beautifully together. Lovely if they're perhaps into music and they want to take this to music lessons. You've got a tab sort of opening here with the button on the front. The haberdashery is sold separately, but this is for your fabric for the bag. And look at this beautiful inside with the lining. So you get 1 metre of fabric in this bundle, 1/2 metre of the yellow, which is a nice canvas, so obviously you've got that added durability, and then you've got the musical notes fabric in there. And obviously you could reverse that the other way around if you wanted to. So if you wanted to have the bag in the black and white and to do the lining in the pink, and you've got your straps with the alternating colours. RTGC 99. These are your 2 fabrics here and your thread. So that's the first option. We've also got another colourway in the music notes fabric, so let's shimmy that bag to the side. Let's put this one on my shoulder now, matching our cave quilt behind me. This one is an orange canvas and the black and white musical notes fabric. This is a violins fabric actually here with an orange canvas, so it is a slightly thicker fabric. It's also got a bit more sort of texture to it. Again, 1/2 metre of each of those fabrics, and the bright bold orange thread from Gutermann, which is 100 metres. And this is how this bag looks made up. I like it with the actual bold colour for the main body of the bag and using the black and white for the base and for the top section. But as I said, if you wanted to reverse it, you could. And again, on the inside here, but that canvas fabric is a lot wider, so actually that might be why it's used for the main body of the bag itself, and then using the cotton for for obviously the flap that closes it over and your base. But also the lovely thing about this pattern is it has got a lot of sort of width in the base section. So if you've got lots of things in there, you can quite visibly and clearly see everything inside, and you're going to be able to fit all your bits and pieces to take on the go with you. I quite like a rucksack anyway, not just for children, but for, you know, it's the comfiest option. I think if you're walking around a lot, perhaps if you're going to the park or if you're going to the shops and you've got everything on your back, you haven't got to worry about a bag slipping on and off your shoulder. Now, you might also see some of these other fabric bundles. So we've got another cotton. This is a really lovely Amy Butler fabric here in your sort of bronzy colours with pale soft pinks and some turquoises. This is a beautiful bag for a little girl, and teamed with a pink canvas and a baby pink thread. It takes two. That's from the Amy Butler range, HZGC55. Again, 1 metre of fabric in total. Then we've also got another cotton canvas mixed with a pattern. This is from Facet, so some different designer options for the rucksack this morning. So we've got a bright turquoise cotton canvas, and then we've got that lovely aqua and royal blue in the actual cotton. ZIGC66 for the Facet Squiggle. That's the Squiggle bundle. Of options. I'm just going to whiz through these so you've got an idea of your different patterns. And this is just like a safari bag, because you've got this lovely sort of grass green canvas, and then you've got the golden zebra print there. 1/2 metre of each of those. So the canvas is a wider fabric, so for the body of the bag, and then you've got your cotton there for the base and for the top section for your lining. PFGC99, that's the zebra and green. And then we've got one last bundle, not to be confused with these others that all have 1 metre of fabric. This has got a slight twist on it because this is 1.5 metres of fabric in total, and it's been paired in a different way. So you've got 2 different fills with the main body of the bag. So you've got this canvas here on the top sort of opening flap, and then you've got the bottom, the base section in the canvas. The main body of the bag has been done in a Makawa solid, there in that sort of soft green, and then using the butterfly print for your straps and for your front pocket, and the lining has stayed with the cotton green. So in this bundle you get 1.5 metres of fabric, 1/2 metre here of your canvas, 1/2 metre of your cotton, 1/2 metre of your lovely sort of pink butterflies, and with a green thread. XZGC44. Obviously that one's slightly $15.95. You've got more fabric in that bundle. So, Joe's going to make it for us. I will just quickly reference while I'm stood here, this quilt behind me. If you haven't seen it, we did this at 9 o'clock this morning with Joe. You should go back and watch it on YouTube if you do love this quilt. We're selling this as one big kit. So many people have bought this morning, which I'm so delighted about. I can't wait to see the made-up versions of this quilt. Absolutely beautiful. You've got different textures of fabrics. You get all the fabric you need in the bundle to make this. All of your wadding, after we've just done a whole hour of talking about wadding, all of your backing fabric. You literally assemble, you cut and assemble these to create the front, and then you can go to town. This one here is done with lovely swirls. And I will just show you the back of the quilt as well, which I've fallen in love with. Really beautiful, all of your binding, and loads of fabric left over as well. So if you want to make matching scatter cushions, or to use the fabric, you know, to pop in your stash for other things. I love that print on the back. Really gorgeous. MBRW79. So many people have bought that this morning, which I'm delighted about. And if you do want to add that to your basket, MBRW79, please send me a picture. You can do it on social media. Send me a picture on social media so I can see those finished made-up quilts. Also, I apologise if you've lost my mic in the last couple of minutes. It's sort of been in and out a little bit. That sound should now be sorted, so hopefully we're all good to go. If you do want to send us a picture as well, you can do that by emailing the studio. studio@sewingquarter.com is the email address there. I'm going to take these bags with me. And let's head over to Jo. Here we go. So now we're going from slightly huge, big project. We're scaling it down.
Shrinking it down a little bit.
Let's go small for children. So this is the bag that you made, isn't it, here?
I made that one,
the
yeah.
green one. And there are 3 different options within the pattern, aren't there?
There are. This is option C, which is the small one. Those 2 are option B. And
Slightly bigger.
Option A has the same, but without the strap, without the flap at the top.
So it's just the pocket there, if you wanted to have... So it would just go over straight over like that. So 3 different options in the pattern. Obviously, all of your instructions are in there and the actual pattern pieces.
They are, yes.
And would you make this for your little boy to take to school?
I would. I mean, this is an ideal size for the little one, and then my older son, I think that one...
Slightly bigger.
...would be perfect for him.
Nice little mini rucksack. So how do we start this, the rucksack, Jo? Where would you begin?
Start with the cutting out. And the fabric... The kits with a metre of fabric, because this canvasy one I think is slightly wider.
Yeah, it is a wider fabric.
You can cut them all out, but you need to think about, lay the fabrics out and work out which bit you're going to cut from which fabric, just to make sure, because it's a good idea to cut out the straps actually first. This is the piece for one of these straps.
They're quite long actually, aren't they, the straps?
They really are, because this is placed on the fold. So one of these is in fact double this length, and you need 2 of them to make a strap. So you actually have to cut this out on the fold.
So it's 4 times the length of that. Because it feeds all the way through. If you can just see this drawstring on the top of the bag, obviously that goes all the way through. And you've got double strap there as well.
It's really clever because they fit into... You feed them in and secure them into this band at the end.
So there's no need for any sort of haberdashery. You don't need to... Obviously, you don't need eyelets or anything like that. You can just hide it straight in there in that seam.
They tuck straight in and you sew them in place.
Nice and neat.
So the best way to do it, if you're using the 2 fabrics, is to cut 1 from each. I have some pre-made straps.
Oh, we're going zebra.
But 1 from each fabric is the easiest way to get them out of this bundle. So I've got a zebra strap and a green strap.
OK.
But I'll put those away for later.
And obviously you can reuse the pattern as well if you wanted to.
You can.
And, you know, make multiple bags, or you could make the different size options.
Yes, I mean, I've made the little one first, but I'm going for the larger size with this one.
OK.
OK. So start off, the first... once you've got everything cut out, the first job is to make the button loop. Now, I've already done this. I've already made the button loop. But this is the pattern piece, and you fold... Press it in half and then press each side into the centre.
Binding, so it's just like binding.
Just like binding, over again, and stitch down either side. So that's the button loop is nice and easy. Nice.
We can do that, and then that's just going to loop like that.
It is.
Pop him to the side. So you just leave that like that. You just stitched either side.
Well, I'm going to fix this in position now onto... This is one of my front... You cut 2 of these out. This is the front of the bag. So I'll move this out of the way before it wafts out of the way. There we go. And you need to transfer the markings from the pattern piece onto this front section. So I've marked these sections in. And it's really, really clear. You've got the fold lines marked, you've got stitch lines marked, but I will say where I made a mistake in a bit, and so that that's
we can iron that out.
Everyone else can avoid that. I did correct it, but yes, where it went wrong first time.
Sharing your pain so we can stop other people from suffering. This pattern's really, really popular this morning. JDBR02. You've obviously got the 3 rucksack patterns within that one, the one pack. Let's let Jo carry on.
OK. So we fold the loop to bring both edges together, and it's clear... I mean, it really explains this bit well in the pattern. We want to sew across from these 2 dots here, and the ends of the... I'll arrange it in a minute. And the ends... Let's line that up. The ends of the button loop need to line up with this little placement line here, and we're going to stitch from dot to dot, marked here, to secure it in place. So it's good to spend a little time, make sure that's definitely centred and level and all the rest.
And using those little sort of darts on the side, those where you've got those marks.
Just to make sure I've got the pattern piece in place. So they're on the placement line, and I'm just going to pop a pin in on the level that I need to sew across. There we go. I might have to look at what I'm doing to be able to do this properly.
How dare you need to look at what you're doing.
So I've put one through. Do this one on this side, and then I've left the pins at the level I need to sew at.
This bundle is the zebra and green bundle on the bottom of your screen, so you get that golden zebra fabric and also the green canvas. So you've got 1 metre of fabric in total, and your thread, which is enough to make the bag in the bigger size.
It is. I'd love the zebra fabric as well. I think it works. I'd love the background, that sort of mustardy colour. And
it's nice as well with these bundles. You don't have to use these because it's not been bundled with the pattern. If you just like the two fabrics together, you could use them for any project. That's the one there with your green and that sort of golden zebra.
Right, I'm going to sew across here on this level at this height.
Any difference with working with a canvas in terms of the thread that you use, or you don't find it? Do you find it more difficult or than just a regular cotton?
It's quite a soft canvas, and the needle, machine needle goes in nicely. It's it's not as dense a weave. So no, I use my normal standard thread, and you might want to switch up to a slightly bigger needle. But where's the pedal? There it is. So just straight across to secure that.
You want that obviously nice and secure because there's nothing worse than those coming off that little toggle. It's annoying, isn't it?
It is. And then again, I think it says 1/4 inch, 6 millimetres below that stitch line. Stitch again, just to really
all of your
secure
instructions
that.
here. This is the section Joe's just doing. It is useful when you get instructions as opposed to just the pattern pieces.
It is.
I mean, that's quite scary, isn't it? It's just arrive with a load of marked out paper to not actually have something.
Yes, I mean, I still find patterns like this quite intimidating because I'm not a dressmaker. But once I get started, it's getting started. Once you get started, you realise everything's really clear, and it's really well laid out.
Just different to what you're used to.
It is.
It's not a toy.
No. I'm used to working with patterns
Toys and
I've
quilts.
written,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I do know them
Yeah.
quite well. I say that, but I did manage to make mistakes yesterday.
That's all right, we're all human.
And then once those are stitched, position the loop downwards and then stitch close to the fold along the top there, just to secure that into place.
Oh, we really are securing this, aren't we?
We are, and do you know that's worked out quite nicely because we've got a little zebra head there.
Oh, it matches up.
I mean,
looks like you did that on purpose.
I love a happy accident when things match up.
Pretend you fussy cut it.
Yes, that was exactly what I intended.
Where it was meant to be. So this is the green. We're using the green thread as well that comes in the bundle.
Make sure that's extra secure. And as well, with folding the loop back like that, you're covering up the raw edges. But now you fold this back and just trim quite close to the stitching, the second lot of stitching. I'll make sure that's out of the way because that would be quite disastrous if I...
Just getting rid of that bulk. We don't need it there, do we? So it's...
And that just neatens off the whole button loop.
Lovely.
So there we go, so that's that bit done. And then the pocket. So what we're doing to start off with is sort of assembling the front section
of the bag. So this bit. This is on the finished one. You can just see here, this is where, obviously, that button loop there. And just making the front panel of the bag. And the back's actually, obviously, you haven't got a pocket on the back, so it's just, that's going to be easier, isn't it?
Yep. Right, so what have I done with my pocket piece? There we go. Make sure I've got it the right way up. And again, here we've got the fold lines marked. Everything's really nicely laid out. You've got the button transfer. In fact, I'll do that now, actually, because I haven't done that.
where you're going to pop your button.
I think it might have gone through. There we go. That's where the button will go later. That's what I forgot to put on. Right, so we're on step 5 already. So we want to turn the upper edge of the pocket to inside along the fold, and then turn on the raw edge again, and then baste that in position as well. Is the iron about?
I can get the iron out.
And because these are all marked, you can check that the pocket is the right size, because I'll press over the seam and then again, but then I can double check I've got the right height on the pocket.
To fit onto that bag, because obviously there are 3 different... Within the pattern, there are 3 different designs. I don't know if you can see here, but this one only has a pocket on the front, so it will be a slightly different pocket size. It depends if you want to put the clasp on or not, and then this one is a smaller... But, you know, great, if the bigger one would be great maybe if you've got more things, maybe a swimming bag, if you wanted to put a small towel in there, and obviously goggles and all those sorts of things, or if it's a school bag, or to take to an after-school club of some sort, or even if you wanted to. I wonder if you could Oda-coat it and make it like a lunchbox.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah, if you wanted to. Make it wipeable.
That'd be really good. There we go, so that's the right height. I'll just double check. And sometimes you give them measurements in a pattern, but it's really good to be able to see it, to have that visual. So there's the bottom edge, and the folded edge falls on the fold line. And now it says to baste that down and then stitch, because you're going to stitch on the front so that it's perfectly even. For the sake of time, I'm just going to stitch on the front now.
So you've just folded that down and pressed it?
Pressed down, so pressed over
2
twice,
folds,
so there's
which
no
are
raw
marked
edge.
on the pattern, and then we're just going to stitch that into place.
So just say baste first and then stitch along the front, but I'm just going to stitch straight along the front for the sake of time.
OK. And then this is obviously going to be popped onto this front panel here.
It is. And that's where I went wrong before, so...
We're coming up to the scary moment.
It's not, I just mistook a line. I got confused with what the lines meant, basically.
Let's look at some of the other colour options. So you might see this one on the desk this morning. This is the musical notes one, paired with a yellow canvas, a really bright yellow canvas. Lovely for boys and girls. And inside you've got that lining fabric as well with the musical notes. You get 1 metre of fabric in total, so 1/2 metre of the monochrome musical notes, 1/2 metre of that slightly wider fabric, which is the yellow canvas. RTGC 99, and you also get a thread in that bundle. So for £9.95, you've got enough to make that whole rucksack. Or if you just like the thread and the colour combinations of fabric, you could add those to your stash. Then we also had another musical twist, but this one has got violins on it, and this is in a bright orange, so almost a red, isn't it? It's that. It's a
sort of tomato-y.
Yes, tomato is a great colour description, with the violin fabric there on the inside. Again, 1 metre of fabric, 1/2 metre of the violin monochrome, 1/2 metre of that tomato canvas, LLGC 96, and you get a thread with that too. Those are both very popular this morning.
Sorry, the thread, my bobbin thread's got caught and it's not sewing quite correctly. So I've rethreaded it and I'm just going to go again on this.
I'll just show you this magnetic clasp then while we're doing that. So you might just see here has got a nice magnetic clasp to pop on the top. Obviously it gives that added security for that top fastening if you wanted to add that. So we've got these in silver and in black today. Where are these in my drawing? Oh no, we've got it in silver and gold. So these are 19mm magnetic clasps. 2 different colour options. The silver is obviously the one you've just seen there. Gives you that satisfying click if you want to pop that in. It's a nice professional finish as well, you can just see there. But this is the silver, £4.45. And you get 1 clasp in there, so you could use that obviously on the bag, or if you wanted to, even on a pocket on the inside if you wanted to add some security, or you could make a little matching purse. And then there's a gold option too, so depending which colourway you go for. In fact, I'd probably use the gold with the green and
really
zebra.
Nice.
Yeah, it would pick that out. So this is the gold magnetic snap, OTPH17. Both of those are the same size, just 2 different colour options there this morning. And one other thing, while we're on the topic of buttons, if you do like this big black button that we're using for the loop here this morning, we are selling those too. So you get a pack of 3 of these millwood buttons. These are 25mm across. £1.95 for that statement black button, and it works really well with the monochrome fabrics actually, sort of just obviously picking out the black detail, carrying it through to the main body of the bag, depending which colour combination you go for, but 3 black buttons, BMGQ 89. Have we sorted out, Bobbin?
All sorted.
We're good.
Pocket nicely stitched now.
So you've stitched that now into place, you'd folded it over twice, pressed it.
So we've got the nice edge to the top of the pocket. And then we need the template again.
Just show that. OK.
Unfortunately, the thread matches in really well, so it's quite
so
difficult
well that
to
you can't
see.
really see what it is we're doing, but that's fine.
OK, now, when I made this first time around, I used... Let's have it the right way round. These are placement lines on the side to line up, to make sure your pocket's on nice and evenly. And I used this placement line, thinking, oh, that needs to be
The top.
for the top of the pocket.
I know what you did.
So I did that, and I positioned it on. I thought, well, that's a bit odd, because it covers the loop. But the pattern says that, so I'll stick with that. And I stitched it in place and then thought, no, that really doesn't work, because you don't want this pulling down the front of the pocket. And then I realised that that placement line is for the back, and it's where you place the flap. That's where the flap, the bottom of the flap fits
on the back,
piece.
Of the bag.
So don't do what I did. Don't.
You need to leave a gap for it to loop over onto the button.
It needs to fit just nicely underneath the loop. And use the placement lines at the side as your guide.
If I set that up properly, you can see. So which placement line do we use?
Well, first, before we do that, I need to press the sides in. So we've not got any raw edges. So, and again, you've got that visual of how much we folded in.
And the other colourways we had in, we obviously just recapped the orange and yellow. So we've got this green one you can see with our butterflies. This one actually is a different bundle. You get 1.5 metres of fabric here, so 3 half-metre cuts for a different combination. It gives you quite a different feel, actually, because you've got canvas here on the top and bottom, cotton for the main body of the bag, and then you've got the butterfly print there in the white and pink and orange. And you also get your thread XSGC44. And the one Joe's working on is the zebras, so that's the grass canvas, and then the golden zebra fabric you can just see here. Here's your 2 colourways. This is our zebras. And then the canvas is a nice wide fabric as well, so you get a little bit more for your money. 1 metre of fabric in total, PFGC 99. And that's $8.95 for the zebra bag, which I think is great value.
It is.
Make a bag for that.
What's good about what I like about this, I was looking for a piece before, and there were 2 zebra pieces on top of each other, and once they're together, they're really well camouflaged, so you do lose track of pieces.
They do sort of match in really quite easily.
Right, so I've pressed in the sides of the pocket, so I'm going to position those. No, we've only...
Did you fold that in twice, or just...
No, it's just the one at the side.
Okay.
I mean, if you would prefer to... I mean, it's personal preference. If you would rather fold it in twice, I mean, you'd have to have a smaller...
Or cut a big bit.
Or cut a bigger... Yes, that's spot on. We've not pressed under the bottom. That's left as it is, because that will be covered up by the band.
Oh, the base band. The straps also go. Lovely.
So I'll get this straight and then pin it in place.
So we don't actually... The tab is going to go over the top, obviously, of the pocket, so everything inside is going to be nice and secure.
That's pretty much spot on. It does help that you can see the buttons marked, so as long as that lines up as well.
That does match perfectly. It looks like the zebra there.
I really should have pretended I did that on purpose.
I spent ages just making sure I'd cut all the fabric properly and checked that it was...
I wanted a zebra head specifically on the button.
Right there, so it looked like the button was coming through the middle of the zebra. Go to town. If you're going to go for the story, Joe, you've got to go elaborate.
If you say anything confidently enough, though, I think people believe it. So I've pinned this in place, and then I will just double-check one last time, because if the pocket is slightly off, you will notice.
So, Joy was using these pins earlier. Do you like using these pins as well?
These are really good, because you can sew over them, because they're so fine.
That's exactly what Joy said. She said the exact same thing.
In fact, can I say, my mum ordered these pins from Sewing Quarter and she loves them as well. In fact, I pinned the hem of a dress for her using them the other day.
Oh, really? She's got them at home. They're on
She
the
has.
bottom of your screen if you do like those MHPH06. They're glass headed pins as well, so you're fine for ironing. If they come into contact with heat, they're OK, aren't they? So
Yes,
double
they are.
whammy.
They're really good. Right, I'll just stitch now from the top, just making sure I really sew over those stitches at the start, just to really secure the edge of the pocket, because if it's going to come away anywhere, it will be there with just a bit of wear and tear.
When you're taking things in and out of that space. Which is the most popular bag at the moment? Which colourway? It's the yellow, so it's the musical notes with the bright yellow canvas that you can see just in front of our machine here. This one is in the lead at the moment. It is really cute. It's nice as well because you've got a lot of you've got all things in there stuffing it, but you've got loads of room to put things inside. And so you keep it all nice and secure. And this one is more sizable than that butterfly one. Obviously, I'm also not child-sized, but it's still quite, it's a nice sort of size bag. You can fit lots of bits and pieces in there. I feel like I'm going on a school trip if I put a rucksack on.
You can fit a snack and a waterproof in there.
But, this is fine for an adult as well. Absolutely.
Because
if I'm not walking, I like a rucksack. I don't like to hold a bag.
But it's not a bulky... I mean, it's the larger size, but it's still not a bulky rucksack. It still would be really comfortable to wear.
I like to have hands-free.
Yes.
If you're walking, I don't want to have lots of stuff.
So put those pins out.
So you're leaving the bottom open because that's going to be sealed in that base section, you said. And we're just doing attaching the sides of the pocket.
There we go.
Lovely. Very neat.
And then the bands. It's lovely. It works so nicely with the contrast fabric. Let's just make sure I have pockets on, bands next.
We're on 10, step 10.
I know we're flying through it.
Gosh, Speedy Gonzales.
So the band, again, you've got the placement line on here, which makes it really easy, but turn the top seam allowance down. I think the seam allowance throughout is 1/2 inch, unless otherwise stated. So I'll give those a press and they can go into position.
OK. We're actually very limited on stock on this yellow bundle now, so if this is the one that you do like, please do check out your baskets on that, either on the website or give the call centre a ring. And next most popular after the yellow is which one? Let's see. Oh, it's a drawstring. It's a draw between the orange and the zebra. So this one you can see here with our violins, and also the green and zebra print that Joe's working with at the moment. Those two both also really popular. You could have, if you have a couple of children, you could have all different colourways hanging up in your hall, couldn't you? Imagine those on the pegs. It looks like the perfect hallway.
Except if they were for mine, one would be full of stones and feathers and things that are
Stones and feathers? Is that
what my youngest likes
they're into at the moment? At least it's cheap.
Yes. Just like to collect stones and feathers. Can you just put this stone in your bag for me?
That's like
it's really heavy, really quickly.
Hayley said the same. She's like, my son does the same. And sticks, she said as well.
Sticks. Oh, yes, we love it. We love a stick.
And you think, what are you going to do with this? But at the time, that's a treasure, isn't it?
Oh, if it accidentally was left behind, there would be...
That's got to go into the collection.
Yes. There we go. So line that up with the placement line. And then on the front one, just stitch straight across and secure that one in place.
There's no straps on the front. The straps are only on the... You don't need to worry at this point about encapsulating those. That's on the back panel.
The back one... There we go. Let's just pin that. The back one, you need to sew a little bit, leave a space, sew some more, leave a space. And I'll do this one quickly and then we'll get to that one. Okay. Because that's the other place I had a moment of...
wonder.
Yes.
This is the pattern as well. So, and we're selling this separately to the fabric bundles this morning. If you do want to make the rucksack, there are 3 different patterns in here: the A, B, and C. There's obviously that smaller one that we've had in the butterfly colourway this morning. and then the two slightly larger bags that you can see in the yellow and orange. And on the back, you can just see they're slightly different in terms of the pockets and in terms of the base sort of strap section that you use, or whether you opt to have the sort of the closing flap over the top of the bag. Really popular pattern this morning, JDBR02. Please check your baskets out on that one if you do want the pattern as well as the fabric, if you're planning to make this for yourself or for a back-to-school bag.
Speed along.
I love these canvas fabrics, how we've mixed these with the cottons today. We don't do that, I don't think we've really done that very much before.
It works really nicely. It gives the bag a little bit more structure and strength.
It's just got a bit more body to it, hasn't it, the canvas, rather than it being entirely cotton.
Right, I've done that a little bit speedily. So let's just check it's not... It's still pretty much on track. There we go. Yes. And then baste along the bottom edge, just to keep these two edges together. It makes it easier later when we join the back. So I'll baste
I'm intrigued how we do the base to this bag, because it's got a stabiliser in it as well, hasn't it?
It has. And actually, that's possibly the easiest bit of all, because it does just fit inside. You cut it exactly to shape, and also the pattern has the piece you need to cut to size. You don't have to work it out. There we go. So that's the front ready to go, and the back one.
I'll have this so you can see.
Is this my back panel? It is.
We've just done that pocket there. OK, lovely.
So the back one is the one that will have the straps in.
Which you cut at the beginning.
Which I've already made. I mean, you make the straps later on, but I've already done those for the sake of time, because it does take a while to do the straps. So I'll just pin these on. And I've read the instructions, and it says leave the gap, OK, for the straps. I was thinking, but they're not marked, and it took me about 10 minutes until I realised, well, it will be marked on the band piece.
Oh, as opposed to being on the actual pattern for the main back of the bag.
So they were the two bit placement of the pockets, and this bit were the two places I had a bit of a moment of.
So it was the loop, just checking where you put the loop in terms of where it's going to lay over the top of the button, and then it was putting the straps in place.
So here's the band, and then just with some pins, I just marked where I need to stop.
Well, that is what's great about seeing a pattern work through in a demo, is that you don't have to go through, you know, at home, you haven't got to go through the struggle of figuring it out. It's already... You make the mistake, and then we can talk about it and, you know, iron that out so other people don't have to do it.
I'm perfectly happy to admit to my mistakes. There we go. So I need to leave.
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? If you find one, then we can figure it out.
But obviously, my initial thought was, well, there's a problem with the pattern.
It's wrong.
And it wasn't. It was me.
And even sometimes, I mean, I hate to say it, but there are little glitches or little things that go wrong in patterns, and you think, oh, I'll completely trust it, and maybe go against your instinct even, which is really frustrating, because then you're following exactly what's in front of you, you know, you're being a good student, and then it actually ends up being a bit wrong.
But this pattern worked perfectly for me. I didn't have any issues. Right, so I'm going to stitch just a small bit, and I'm going to back stitch there at either end, just to secure the threads, because I don't want it coming apart.
No.
And then later on we feed the ends of the straps into there, and we'll over sew them. And
to lock it into place.
Yes, make sure they're fully secured. And you can do that. You might think at first, I can't get that into a machine, because you've assembled so much of the bag by that point. But you need to slide this bit off, but it is possible.
But you can. Now, the canvases, we're very limited on stock of those. If you want to buy those separately, someone's messaged in to ask that this morning. We'll show you, we've got two canvases available that you can buy separately, but we are really limited on stock. So first of all is the yellow canvas, which is, you can buy that by the ½ metre off the bulk, but we've got very little stock of that. $3.65 per ½ metre, WUJQ87, which is the one you can see here, and they are slightly wider fabrics, so you get... I think they're 1.5 metres. We'll check. They're 1.5. They are a wider fabric, so you've got, you know, a bit more, because, and then they're great as well for furnishings and things like that. And then we've also got, if you want to buy it in isolation as opposed to in a bundle, we've got the green that Joe's working with that you can buy off the bolts, $3.65 per ½ metre. JNJQ01. All of the others we've used up in those bundles this morning, so you can't buy those on their own, only matched up with the cotton fabrics. But the yellow and green, if you're quick enough, you might get some of that off the bolts just on its own.
There we go. So that's back band. I'll just trim these threads and remove my pins. And again, I'll baste along that bottom edge just to seal those together.
Do you use interfacing for this project?
You do. The lining, I have already made the lining actually, what have I done with it? But the lining is interfaced.
Okay.
So it's that bit that
gives it that white. That's why it's standing up on the desk rather than slouching over. We'll get to that. If you want the interfacing, you get a metre square of that for £2.95. NXGQ 17. I feel a bit Wadding obsessed this morning, as we've just done all. I'm just wondering what this would feel like with a canvas with a wadding. That's quite unusual, isn't it? If you decided to, it would feel very different. I don't think I've felt a trying to think if we've done a canvas bag with a wadding, but we've just had all of those different ones on the shows. We had polyester and bamboo and wool. And I've had like a sensory experience today of just touching things and seeing what they feel like.
Oh, here it is. The flap that covers the top of the bag is really easy to do. It's just 2 pieces. I've cut one from the canvas and one from the zebra, and I have the zebras on top. Stitch around, leaving an opening in the back, in the top. And it says to leave an opening in the upper edge, which I have done, and you can tell by the zebras. And it says to then close it. Well, I'm a bit lazy, so actually when you sew it in place, that will seal the top.
So you don't need to go back.
So you can hand sew it, or if you think, well, it will be sealed when it's fixed in place, you can get away with it.
So it does just go over the top of the bag onto the back panel. You can just see here on the made one. Obviously, this here is the back of the bag, and then it just loops around onto the front, and it's reversible there with that magnetic snap.
If you're going to add a magnetic snap as well, now's the time. So you can get inside and fit the
They're like drawing pins, aren't they? You have to push them through and into place.
But now, before you fix it on, you don't want to get to the point where this is fully secured and you think, oh, I've not added that bit. Although, you could do it before you stitch it, but I would wait until this point and just get my hand inside, mark the centre and mark where I want it to be and fit it now.
And just pop that in so you've got that for the... It's quite nice to have a clasp, isn't it? I think it gives it that professional finish.
It does, especially on the larger one, I think.
Because you're more likely to have lots of bits and pieces in there.
Yes. Right, and it shows on this piece, this pattern piece, it shows you the stitch lines. I'm just, for the sake of speed, I'm just going to go around, but it's essentially a rectangle, an oblong of stitching. So it's 2 lots of stitching to make sure it's really securely held.
Because again, in terms of the durability, the pocket and the sort of flap are the 2 sections that are going to be the most used.
They are. And you want to be able to use it again and again.
Oh, the zebra bundle's taken over. It's stampeded into the lead. The green and that gold zebra print you can see on your screen there. PFGC 99. PFGC 99. This bundle now is right out there in front. I have to say, these 2 colours work really, really well together.
They do. Pivot at the corner.
I'm just going to grab the canvas to show you just how wide that fabric is. So in one of these bundles that are teamed with, so whether it's the yellow or the orange or this green, you're getting your cotton, so you get ½ metre of each fabric, so ½ metre of your zebra. I'm going to quickly open these just to show you. So this is also a wider fabric, with all those lovely zebras there on that golden yellow. But then the canvas is a wide fabric too, so you are getting a bit more for your money. If I just show you that. Ooh. So it's a really wide fabric. I reckon that's 1.5 metres. 150 centimetres. We're just going to check the measurement on that for you. But so, yeah, it's 150, because it's like my arm span. That's why I was thinking it must be about. So it's 150 centimetres. And then also you get a green thread in that bundle as well. So sorry, Jo, I just distracted you. We went over the back of the... did that twice.
Yes. So I've gone round in a rectangle sort of shape just to make sure that's well secured. And that stitching then has sealed that opening.
Just here. I don't know if you can see. quite hard to see with that thread, but there's a rectangle all the way around that section. Okay.
And if you're using the zebra fabric, they need to be upside down on the back so that when it folds over the front of the...
It's directional. You don't want the zebras...
You don't want upside down zebras.
Upside down. Sunbathing.
Not if you've gone to the trouble to get a zebra head in the button.
No, exactly, especially if you've done that. We are really limited on that zebra stock now, so please do check out your baskets. I don't want you to miss out. OK.
OK, what did I do with the front? Oh, it's over there.
This
now
one?
we're going to join... So that's both front and back panels assembled. You can see where I did make a... See where the bottom thread was catching before. And then it's not a case of just sewing down either side. Now we need to leave spaces, and they're marked on here. So this point, and in fact, I'll mark it in pen.
This is going to be about your drawstring.
It is. This is the
Channel.
casing for the drawstring. So there and there. And it shows on the instructions really clearly you need to leave that opening.
Because sometimes with the drawstring, am I right in thinking... So are these going one each way?
Yes, one's fed in from one direction and the other's fed in
from the other. But it's a nice strong drawstring. You know, sometimes it's feels a bit flimsy. I don't know if it's because it's got a canvas. One of them's a canvas. I don't know, but it feels like if I just show you, but just really easy to open and close. But it's a nice. You can see there actually by how sort of ruched that is. It's a really nice tight drawstring.
It does, because sometimes they can sort of over time. The top can open up again.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It feels like it doesn't actually close, or that it would just... It could open by itself if anything pushed against it. Whereas that, you do actually have to consciously open and close that.
I'll try, oh, sorry, this is
that
what
was
happens.
me. So we're doing sewing up the edges now and leaving a channel at the top for these straps.
How are we doing for time?
We are doing about 10 or 12 minutes.
Right, so I'll try and then keep the highlights. Although even with fixing the straps in and the channels, once you get to that point, because I read through the pattern first and thought, well, I hope that becomes clear when I get to it, and it does.
When you've got it in front of you made up, as opposed to just being paper pieces and, you know, flat fabric.
Yes, and also where in the pattern it says to press. So when we add the base in a bit, it will say to press all this and press these seams open as well. It is. I won't do it for time, but it's definitely worth doing because it makes feeding the straps in easier if these sides are pressed inwards later on. That doesn't make sense right now, but it should do later.
For when you put those in. I really love this as well, that with the lining, you have got that fabric coming through on the inside. I think that's a really lovely touch.
I love a fancy lining.
Yeah, why not? You know. Because actually you spend just as much time, if you're anything like me, looking at the inside of the bag, trying to find things that you've put in there, so...
There we go. So that's one side sewn together, but that opening left.
OK.
I'll go this way up this side.
And also, no one else... You're not going to bump into anyone with the same bag as you if you've made this. Or your child's not going to go into school and find that everyone's got the same bag as them.
Oh, I should have said before doing this, it's worth making sure that the bands line up at the sides.
Oh, so you've got that running all the way around.
Yeah.
If everyone checks out their baskets on the zebras, we've only got 5 of those left. So please do, if you want to give the call centre a ring, 0800 112 4433. That's for the golden zebra and the green canvas bundle, £8.95 for that. This was the band that Joe was talking about. Oh, sorry, just put my hand in front. Just checking there, this runs all the way around the bottom. Obviously, you want it to match up.
I didn't check, and
this is what happens.
My zebra head has fallen in the correct place. Just happy sewing accident day. Oh, no, that one's not so good. So I would unpick that, actually, and redo it. Can you see? Sorry.
Let's just see what you mean. So if you
they don't quite line up.
Just there and there. That slight sort of slip.
So you can't
minimal, but
you can't have everything.
No.
One fell into the
You've got the
place.
button loop, so...
Right. And next, it says to stay stitch all the way around the bottom. So you can do that. I'll skip that stage. And then I'm just going to... These will have been pressed open.
Yeah.
pin the base.
Ah, this was the bit. So how do we do this?
And it's easiest. Mark the centre points this way and that way is the easiest way of doing it. I won't transfer those markings right now. I'll go straight for it. And it's easiest to line up the centre points of both. I'll tell you what, I'll finger press so I've got an idea. And I find it easiest to sew with the bag on top and the base bit underneath and go around that way.
Okay.
But clip into, I mean, it says this again in the pattern, clip into the top bit just to give that bit of flex and freedom as you go round.
I'm having flashbacks to like the little base of the teddy bear that we do. Do you know what I mean? Like where you've got that circular.
See, I normally go the other way and would have the curved piece, this piece on top. But actually for this, it's definitely easier. So I'll pin those sides so it's nice and level.
But also the lining that you've got, you use a stabiliser with this, don't you, if you want to?
Yes.
Which we've got in 2 colour options. So depending which colourway you've gone for, if you've gone for perhaps the lighter green bag, you'd probably lean towards a white stabiliser, but we've got it in black as well if you've gone for a darker option. Let's start with the black. So this is so useful for adding a professional touch to any bag. You can just see here by these diagrams, you put them in the bottom and it just gives you that stability, and it shapes the bottom of the bag so you can really quite easily see everything you've got inside. And on the back of this are all of your instructions for how to use it and insert it. You can cut it, it's really easy to cut, it's really easy to sew with, you don't have to worry about it damaging your machine. And this is a medium weight stabiliser, it comes in 2 colourways, and you've got 2 pieces in there as well, 2 sheets. Same thing here, but this is in the white option, so just depending, as I say, which fabric you're perhaps working with. It's just knowing about that these things exist, isn't it?
It is.
And what they're called and what...
This is the piece I've prepared, and it wasn't quite wide enough for the base, but they're really easy to sew. You can stitch them together, and you can stitch them to the lining so they don't slip about.
Oh, right, so you've just attached those 2 pieces really easily, just sewn them together.
And it will be perfect then inside to give the base
here, you
that
can
shape.
It just gives you that solid shape that's not going to go anywhere. So rather than it scrunching, because if that wasn't there, I sort of struggle to squash that because it's got the stabiliser in it, and it means that it stands really comfortably. If that wasn't there, I think it would collapse. It would fall over. It certainly wouldn't stand up by itself. So these have been out of stock for a little while, but they are back in stock now. The white and the black, you can see those on your screens. Jo here has used the white one, and as she said, really easy to sew and stitch together.
Right, I'm just stitching the base on as quickly as I can so we get to...
So you pinned those, you opened the seams, you would have pressed those open, then you pinned the 2 side sections.
Yes, and you can clip the seam allowance before you start if you want, if you found that easier, or you might want to clip it as you go. I'm just going to go for it just so it's on.
Power on to the end.
Power on. It's really warm in here, isn't it?
It's like starting to get a bit hot.
I feel like I am sewing. It's pressurised
It's the pressure.
sewing.
We'll sort the temperature out. I'll just do this. Do you know why? It's because we're doing safari. We've got zebras.
It is,
and,
yeah.
You've been here for 3 days, Jo. Are you done after today?
I am.
You've got a day off tomorrow, or are you...
I have a family wedding tomorrow.
Oh,
so
very nice.
Really looking forward to that.
The weather's meant to be good tomorrow.
The long-range forecast for ages has been really poor, and then all of a sudden it's switched round and it looks like hopefully it will be a lovely day.
Oh, that's good. Have you got an outfit all planned?
I have. That's all ready to go.
It's bank holiday as well, isn't it, actually? So that's lovely because they've got that... everyone's off and free. So over half the stock of the pattern has now gone. If you do want the pattern for the rucksack, I don't know if I've got it here. What have I done with it? What did I do with them? Oh, here it is. There's one on the stand here, but it comes with all of your instructions. So you've got everything. Jo's been following these step-by-step instructions for the actual construction of the bag itself. It talks all about, cutting the fabric and laying that out. You can see your 3 different designs there. You get, obviously, all of your pattern pieces inside, all marked up nice and clearly with your fold lines and everything like that. And these are your different rucksacks inside. So this one here, without the flap for A. C has got the pocket there. And then your B is a larger version. JDBR02. We had loads of stock of this today, so it's been really, really popular. Over half of that's gone. £7.95 if you do want to add that to your basket and combine it with a fabric bundle to make one of these bags. Let me turn it back. What step were we on? We were on 16. No, 16.
Yes, we have the bottom on. So clip the bottom and then turn right side out. I've not left any pins in. Turn right side out and press. So definitely press at this point. But you get a real idea now.
It would be really easy at this point to go, oh, I'm done, and not worry about lining. But it is lovely to open it up and to have that inside.
It is.
You can see the bag. You've got the bag pretty much.
And you can see that it's longer at the top at this point, but that's because the top edge folds in. So these openings we've left before. See if I can sort of fold over so the ends of the openings are together. That will all be pressed inside. So later on, those openings form the channels. You stitch around there. I've made the lining already. Here it is.
I had it. I stole it off you.
So turn this right side out and press. And I think, have we done with this? Yes, because that's the cutting instructions.
OK.
And then move on to the next. I think they're in English and French, so if you want to really challenge yourself.
Go for it in another language. Ooh la la.
And then the lining, they need the interfacing added, so to give it that structure, and then sew them together. The opening is left in the side, and it's quite a big opening, and you do need it that sort of size, because later, when you slide that part off your machine, and it all needs to fit under, and you need to get in that way and rearrange so that you can get to the bit with your straps.
To fit your strap in. So you do need to leave that big gap at the side.
It does need to be an opening big enough that
so you could base that on your machine, really, as well.
You could.
If you know, depending on what machine you're working with.
So I've got that back on.
Only 3 left of the zebra now, so it's going to be a race to the finish.
So these need... Am I at the point where these get stitched together? I've made the lining.
When does this go in?
Right, it's one of the last things to go in.
Okay.
Yes. You could, if you wanted to stitch it to your lining, you can fit that on and stitch it too. Or later on at the very end, you can stab stitch through in between the lining. I have left a pin in. I knew there was one. And so you join the lining
to
the outer. And that will seal it then. If you do it on all 4 points, so either side, this one, it will hold that in place. Or you can stitch that directly to your lining.
Because you won't be able to move anywhere, you know, if you've done that on those four corners. But there's nowhere for it to go.
No, but it's really great to give the bottom that stability. So I'll put this in here. And line up the sides and then stitch. I'm hoping I'm at the right point now. I am.
You are.
Because I've already made the lining. I've skipped a few stages.
We've got about 2 minutes.
So join those together, then turn them the other way, and then the lining isn't as deep. So when it hits the bottom, your opening, they will form. You can stitch around those areas if you want. They do just, if you press them, they will just stay inside, but you can stitch them for an extra bit of stability if you want to finish those edges.
And then it's going to be about the handles, isn't it?
And the straps are fed in through those channels once we've stitched them. So one goes in from one side, pop a safety pin through, and then you can just feel the safety pin, feed it through the channel.
Just wiggle that through, that top bit there, you can just see. OK.
So one goes one way, one goes the other, and then feed them into the
base, which is here at the back.
The little holes we left.
At the bottom.
Fit everything on your machine, jiggle it about, make sure the lining's not caught, and over-sew those.
And ta-da!
And it's pretty much done. Slip stitch the opening.
One on each.
Should we each wear one?
I'm going to quickly recap the fabric options that you've got for these this morning. Here we go. So we have got the yellow and the music notes there that Jo's got on her shoulder. Jo's going to model that one. This is the yellow and the music notes. That's the first bundle option this morning. That's on the bottom of your screens, just coming up now. Then you've also, here it is, 1/2 metre of each of those, the yellow and the black. So the haberdashery is not included, that's just the thread and your fabrics. Then you've got the orange and the violins. I'll have to move my hair, maybe this wasn't such a wise idea. But you can just see there, it's that bright, bold orange, and just the tomato orange, as Jo rightly said, teamed with your violins. LLGC 96 is for the orange and the violin. Then we've got, oh, we haven't seen the Kaffe very much, so let me show you that. Is a really bright turquoise and teamed with that squiggle fabric from Kaffe Facet with a thread as well. So 1/2 metre of each of those. And then we've got Amy Butler. I love this one. This is really lovely. I'd like to see this one made up. We've got the Amy Butler from that Soulmate collection and the Canvas Soft Baby Pink. 1/2 metre of each of those. That would be beautiful with that inside the lining.
It would.
And then you had your butterflies. This was a 3-way bundle, so 1.5 metres of fabric in total. All of your greens and your butterflies. That one just popping up on your screens there. So a quick recap on all of those rucksacks we've had this morning. Thank you to Jo. You're off to your wedding in the morning.
I am.
All ready to go. Hopefully the sun will shine for you. Thank you for showing us those rucksacks. If you've got the Kaffe quilt today, well done you. That is going to be a project. We look forward to seeing that. That's what's coming up on tomorrow's show. We've got embroidery with Elna and tips and tricks, and we're looking at an Elna machine and some pre-cuts as well at 11 o'clock. So I look forward to seeing you in the morning. Thank you so much for your company today. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Follow us on Instagram. Search for our Sewing Quarter page and follow us to get our latest posts. Don't forget, shopping with us is easy and simple. You can just contact us at 0800 112 4433 and speak to our UK-based call centre to place an order, or shop online with us at www.sewingquarter.com.